4th planning board meeting. And just note this meeting is being recorded for broadcast on the Rutland Community Television and Rutland YouTube, I guess, too, and who knows where else. First order is minutes of August 10th.
I move to accept the minutes for August 10th.
I didn't have any changes. Second?
I have no changes.
On page 4,
Oh.
I would add in Central Mass Regional Planning to Rural Caucus.
What is it called?
Rural Caucus.
I have a notation on the first item, page 1, on Mark Eldack's decision not to, the reason that we didn't, that there was not a problem really renewing it, his expired permit was that we didn't send him a notice. We had it.
We're not required to,
Yeah, I agree with Marilyn on that.
but, like I say, I think we probably should kind of make it a policy if we can remember to do that from this point onward. So, do you want that in the minutes, or?
Or policy or something, somewhere, I think. I'd like it to, my initial thought was, well, somebody else can come in, I mean, it could be, and you did this for some reason, you're gonna do it for me, I don't know how many of the permits are out there.
So what would you like in the minutes?
In the minutes, or a policy, I would like either one, and so, I mean, just in the minutes, add that the reason that this was, approved was because we had never reminded him that it was outdated. But I don't feel really strongly about it, just,
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna put that as a reason for approving it. The reason we approved it is that it still meets the bylaw.
Could we put something, we will be reviewing the policy for informing special permit holders about expiration dates?
But you can't put that in the minutes unless it was discussed like that at the meeting.
It was.
I will say, when you guys did have that discussion, that was at a separate, I think that was the meeting prior. I do have that in the minutes from the meeting prior, because you guys did discuss and had asked Dave to begin sending letters in the future.
Okay.
Agreed to say,
Okay, then I can't do it in these
So
minutes.
that
No,
isn't-
I agree.
minutes previously.
okay,
So it's in previous minutes anyway,
okay,
that we're going to.
good enough.
Okay, any other questions, comments, additions, deletions? 2 minutes. I believe I heard a motion in a second, so, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just a quick note, Kevin Jarvie is not here tonight, so everybody knows about that. Okay, A&Rs, nothing. Next is, continuation of the public hearing on Brintnal Estates subdivision. We have not yet received any reply to, the Quinn report asking for additional information. And we don't have any other further report from Quinn on activities there, so, I'll accept a motion to continue.
So moved to continue the Brintnal Estates hearing.
Excuse me, is there a date?
Oh, till
The next meeting is September 14th.
September 14th at 6:35.
Do I have a
Okay,
second?
second.
Second. Any discussion on this one? In favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next we have a public hearing. Hold it. It is not yet 6:40. And that's when the hearing is scheduled for. So,
I'll move on and grab it.
Would you be interested in taking item number 5, extension of time for the special permit in Campbell Court?
Yeah.
I think we can do that. That is, it should not take us very long. We have a pretty lengthy letter from the owners, I guess, of his state lot at King, at 18 Campbell Court. And they're asking for extension. Does anybody have any comment?
No, they're actually asking it before it expires, so that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Can we extend it a year in one? Or two? Or
I
do we
think
do
I
two?
think it has to be 2 years.
Okay.
Actually, if I could, you have the discretion, whether or not a year or two. Typically, you want to consider such things as how long will it take for the actual construction to begin, what are the things that are holding the construction from occurring. I think in the applicant, they indicate that they have some final engineering work, final architectural work to do, so.
It's still one of these,
Yeah, they didn't give a date for what they want.
And the applicant's also here, I believe, so you may want to call on these folks. this
Excellent.
week.
Okay.
are you desiring a 2-year extension?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
please. With the time of year right now, and with everything going on in the world, we won't be able to start till the spring, even if we get the permits done. So if anything else goes haywire that we've all dealt with in the last 18 months, I can't see.
Yeah.
So I just, because we found out in December, well, we bought the property in December, we found out in July when I reached out to David, based on what we had heard, saying, what are our options? I was just asking for what a normal permit timeframe would be.
I'm fine with
I have no problem with the 2 years.
that. Motion to extend the special permit on a state lot at 18 Campbell Court for 2 years till September 18th, 2023.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now, I guess we'll go back to, we are at 7:40. So, we now have a public hearing for a special permit for a major home occupation at 87 Glenwood Place. And I'm assuming that's probably why most of you people are here. And I guess I just want to lay out a few things, since we have this many people here. Number one, the first thing, we will allow the applicant to give a presentation of whatever he or she desires. Following that, I will accept questions, comments from the board members only. Once we have exhausted that, I will then accept questions, comments from the general public. No one from the public is to speak until they are recognized by the chair. When the chair recognizes you, please give your name and address. Are there any questions on the procedure? Hearing none. Is the applicant here?
Yeah. Yep, so my name is Robert Hyde, 87 Glenwood Place. We're applying for a special permit for the home occupancy for business. My wife and I are known as Hyde & Sons Forestry here in town. We started a small veteran-owned business in April 2020 during the height of the pandemic. A little bit about us, we moved to Rutland in 2018, fell in love with the small town, country back roads. I'm an Army veteran, served one tour of duty in Afghanistan, 2010 to 2011. Currently also work as a full-time 911 dispatcher supervisor for the Mass State Police and now the Executive Office of Public Safety State 911 Department. My wife grew up in the Wachusett District and currently works for Reliant Medical. We have 2 boys, 6 and 2. We're here today to apply for the special permit for a major home occupation. I'll give you a basic rundown of what our business does. We're agricultural, in the field agricultural. We have a forestry mulcher that breaks trees down into fine mulch that is then used by the customer for gardening, erosion control, and biomass. This method helps clear the land, provide a product on site to our customers. We've served for many farms, builders, and residents in the town of Rutland, plus surrounding towns. Our equipment, we have 1 skid steer, 1 trailer, 2 pickup trucks. 1 pickup truck is multi-use. I use it to go to my day job. Another one's dedicated straight for the company. We park the truck at my house or my employee's house most of the time. We work normal business hours, leaving around 7 to 7:15 a.m., coming home around 4 to 5 p.m. Usually my one employee takes the truck and trailer to his house. We also do have a mini bobcat excavator that's multi-use for a homeowner and for customers. We probably use it about 3 or 4 times for jobs for the company. We do have a spare garage in the rear of the property that we started building before the company was ever started. I keep my 4-wheelers, dirt bikes, and ATVs in there, along with my homeowner supplies, lawnmowers, cars, tools. We have pulled equipment in there to clean or fix, but we mostly do repairs on site or at the dealer. We've never had any customers or retail sales occur on the property. We do not store supplies or on the property either. We've only parked the truck and trailer there. We believe that we have no negative impact on the surrounding neighbors or roadway. We live on a 1.6 acre lot located on a dead-end road where all houses are a minimum of 150 feet apart. We'd appreciate your support in granting this permit so we continue to provide services for local business, farms, and residents.
Okay, any questions, comments from board members? Yep.
I believe in the application it said home occupation, and yet on our agenda it says major home occupation. What is it?
This is a request for a special permit for a major home occupation.
Okay.
And these are defined terms in the bylaw. The first is home occupation and then major home occupation. So because of the intensity measures, this was determined by the building commissioner to be a candidate for a major home occupation.
Okay.
So should this number 6 been changed?
Should number 6 where?
The application says for a major, for home occupation, it should be a major, correct?
I think it's under, yes, it was advertised as a major home occupation.
All right, so.
That's what the applicant's describing, so I'm not sure.
That's right.
But-
No, turn page. It's the number 6. This, ooh, you don't have it.
It's up on the top, isn't it?
Oh, okay, it's just stuck page.
Ah, come on.
There it is. No, you don't
Right at the top it was. Number 6?
He's missing, you got, so no, you're missing a page.
I'm missing a
Here,
page.
here. This one, I just wrote this in right there, but it says home occupation permit, it didn't have major.
Major.
So,
I don't think that's.
okay.
You don't think it's significant?
No.
He wouldn't be here for home, but he is here for major. So therefore, I think it would be nice for it to say major.
Yeah,
on
it
the
just gotta be
application.
changed. We can write that, I don't have a problem writing that in.
I don't have a problem if it's written in, as long as he signs whatever one is the original.
Do you got that one
Initial.
with you, Dave, by any chance? The original?
I have a copy. The original's in the folder right there.
Just have them in, put major on there and initial, please.
Yep, I'm good with that.
Is the original in here?
Yes. Yeah, there's 2 copies of this original.
I don't know if you had it in yours.
This is that's what the
Mr. Height?
The second page.
Should be the second page.
Yeah, I found it in the middle.
Yeah, there it is. See, it just says home, there's no major.
Right, I wrote major.
Yeah, you wrote it in too, Mary, that's what I did. guess I've gotta ask, this is to the applicant, there's no other equipment, any other than a skid steer? There isn't any breakdown equipment for the mulch or tree cutting or anything like that that's in that area or on the property?
No, we generally go to the property, we leave it all on site. We don't take anything home.
Okay.
So there's no products, no materials, no sales of those.
No, I was thinking more of large equipment, like over 10,000 pound type equipment.
The skid steer is it's 10,200 pounds, it's
Okay.
just over.
Okay.
The excavator has more for homeowner use, but it's under 10,000 pounds.
Okay, excavator. Thank you.
How frequently is this equipment being moved into and out of this?
We leave
site?
daily. Sometimes equipment stays on site for a couple days, but yeah, we Monday through Friday, daily. It's on a trailer.
Our town planner, Dave George, requested some additional information for findings with regard to the details of the home occupation bylaw, and at least according to what we've heard, he has not received anything from you.
No, I wasn't able to get to it, and I was working doubles all week, running the job. I believe he was looking for what we could do to help out, and I guess as far as fencing, or we could put up a landscape barrier to help out, block the view.
Dave, you wanna clarify?
Right, so the application itself consists of the general findings of fact that appear in the zoning bylaw. So there's several general findings of fact. Then for the specific types of special permit, there are specific findings of fact. In this case, these are the ones that appear in section 8B. These pertain to home occupation in particular. It goes into the item here is major home occupation shall comply with the following standards. And they list several of them in the bylaw, such as number of employees, whether it's clearly incidental, subordinate to the primary residential nature of the structure, so forth and so on. That's what I was looking for, not necessarily any mitigation measures or any kind of things that might come into play to mitigate, but that's what the request was.
Yeah, we do have one employee.
Say that again?
One employee?
Okay.
Actually applies to, I have a copy of the zoning bylaw page. It applies, a lot of the information here applies to the building.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, which is.
it doesn't fit this exactly.
Mhm.
Through the chair, Norm, I got a question.
Yep.
You said excavator. Is that different than the skid steer?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so that wasn't listed on the application. It just says, one commercial truck and trailer with a skid steer on a trailer, so there's an added excavator. Is that full size, small?
No, it's a small one, but I generally use it more for homeowner use.
Okay.
Like I said, I probably use it 3 or 4 times a year on the job. But
Okay.
it's mostly for mowing my hills and moving logs around. We were clearing the backyard.
Okay.
David,
Oh, here it is. I apologize. I just couldn't read it.
a question for you. And it's something a little bit different over on the, I guess, the second page of the zoning bylaw, second or third page. Number B3, on the procedure of approval. When do we determine the application is complete? And that does it say have you?
Well, the application is complete in the sense that it has the abutters list, it has the fee, there's an application that was filled out. Whether the application is complete because it requires all requested information is a matter for the board to consider. Whether it was complete to be acceptable. Furthermore, if an applicant makes the submission to the town clerk, they cannot be refused. Even if it's inadequate, it will still have to be accepted as an application. This application filled out the application form with the information that was noted as not being here. So that becomes a fact-finding mission for the board, if they need more information to request it, or if not comfortable,
Well, I'm
so
just,
forth and so on.
I'm just looking at this number 3.
Yeah.
Where it says, procedure for approval of special permit for a major home occupation shall be provided, blah, blah, blah. The applicant, within 3 days of the board accepting the application, is complete, submit 1 copy to the zoning board of appeals, board of health, building inspector, conservation commission, department of public works, fire, and police chief, with a request for their review and comment.
Yes, that has occurred. We've not
That has
received any
occurred.
comments back.
Okay,
Perfect.
okay.
But they've got 35 days from the August 3rd to get it back to us, is that correct? I read this correctly? It says said boards and officials shall have 35 days to submit their comments to the board.
That's the maximum time.
Yeah, max, okay.
Yes, one further question I have, it's your answer to B sub 1 on the application. It says, be suitably located in the neighborhood in which it is proposed and be compatible with existing and other uses permitted by right in the same district. Your answer says the property is used to store 1 commercial truck, blah, blah, blah. I don't really think that's answering that question.
Sorry, what was the question again?
It says, okay, this is under design criteria. Please indicate how the proposal would meet each design criteria. Be suitably located in the neighborhood in which it is proposed and be compatible with the existing uses and other uses permitted by right in the district. In other words, it's a residential district. So how is this compatible with a residential district?
I mean, it has minimal impact on the neighborhood. You know, we do have 2 commercial trucks, but they're all over 7,000 pounds. Anything over 7,000 pounds has to be registered commercial. Nothing stands out. It still looks like a residential neighborhood. Doesn't have a major impact as far as it looks, what's going on in the neighborhood.
We had this, and again, this is you 3, and Marilyn, you weren't. We had this with, remember the gentleman that had the construction off Main Street? It was his wife did yes, he had a construction company.
Mhm.
It was behind one of Lenny's properties, if I remember right. And he had the trailer too, and again, this is not specific to yours, but the compliance was to keep the neighborhood from seeing all the equipment. He put up those arborvitaes, if I remember right.
Correct.
And Mr. Gangle agreed that that would be okay, if I remember right at the time. So that I would have thought would have been, you know, a discussion point with trailers and a trailer, and a skid steer. I understand in that case it was a dump truck with a trailer and a backhoe on it, but it was still major equipment, so I don't know.
It's a pickup truck. It's not an actual full-size commercial semi-truck. It's a Ram 3500 and 4500. And I believe in part of the application we did put in there about the arborvitaes to block off site.
Yeah, it said is that the landscape buffer that you put
Yes.
on 14? Okay.
So you were towing this with a pickup, is that what?
Correct.
Oh, okay. I was kind of picturing a larger truck.
Nope, yeah, it's a pickup truck.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess through Norm, and maybe with David, do we have any findings or I don't know how to ask the question, from the building inspector, who's our enforcement officer, that did he have any issues?
The building commissioner has not provided any comments on this, on the special permit for the home occupation.
Okay, that's what I was looking for, David. All right. I would have expected Norm something from him on that, since he's our enforcement officer.
Dave McHugh actually did show up on a Sunday just to look around, and he did say it just like a normal residential neighborhood, nothing out of the ordinary. He said he drove up on a weekend, Saturday and a Sunday, and found both facts to be the same.
Just to dot the i's and cross the t's, can we have, I know since we all asked him to put that in writing and send it to us, put in the file,
What?
his visit, because if he was out there, I mean, I would think there's a report somewhere, right?
Well, we need a written report.
Well, that's what I meant. If he was out there and he did all that, which I'm fine, I'd just like to have a written report in the file from him on that. Can we request that?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I was asking for, is I wanted the file with all the documentation in it.
Just through the chair, what side of the lot is your driveway?
It's on the, if you're looking at the house, it's on the left side. So, if you're looking
Okay,
at
so
that
it's
way,
the
right
lower side.
Yep, that side right there.
Yeah.
You got a plan?
Yeah, I went on the town webpage.
Oh, you did the pre-work. That's why you're the man. I looked at it on Google.
Do you park the truck in your driveway?
Nope, actually, my employee takes the truck and trailer home now. I park my personal truck that's multi-use, I use it to go to work and for the business, without a trailer, but my one employee does take the truck and trailer to his house, which is located on the same street, but it's tucked away about 500 feet back on the site.
Anything else from the board?
And we didn't get anything back from the DPW, correct? Or did it go to Concon?
We got it on Friday.
Okay.
Mhm.
Will you guys have any comments back?
I have questions.
Okay. That's for your board to go through?
I have questions I intend to ask this evening, and at our next meeting, we'll have a discussion about.
Okay, good enough. That's what I wanted
However,
to ask.
for the record, our next meeting is September 21, so it's,
It'll be after our meeting.
yeah,
Okay.
we have to skip our next meeting.
Okay, anything else from the board?
No, not right now.
Okay, then, anyone from the public?
Should we, before we do that, Norm, since we got another board member here, ask? Before we go to the public, or should that be?
Well, are you speaking as a board member or as the public?
Concom.
Concom? Go.
Peter Crane Natesway, Chair of the Rutland Conservation Commission. I have a couple questions for the applicant. If I understand it correctly, you said you're not going to have any stores on the property. It's all staying at the customer site, right?
Correct, all products stay there.
Good. What about consumables for the vehicles? Oil, gas?
Nope. We do have auxiliary tanks in the trucks, but they're in the trucks, they're sealed, they're
Mhm.
inspected by the fire department. We do have permits to have them.
Great. And finally, where is vehicle maintenance taking place?
At dealerships. As far as oils and stuff, we do at the dealership, brakes and stuff, we do ourselves. Well, I do it, yeah. So no liquids or no hazards or,
No, right, no, basically no hazardous materials on site. That's
Correct.
really the core of the question. Okay. Those are my 3 questions. Thank you.
Are there any other board members here who wish to be heard? No. Okay, then, questions, comments from the public, one at a time. George?
Mr. Chair, George Carizzi. I represent the Rossettis, Mitch and Jessica, who live directly behind this property. They live at an estate lot that's directly behind. So the applicant's property is a frontage lot, a little over an acre, about an acre and a half in the front. The Rossetti's property is an estate lot that's 5 acres behind it. So what might typically have been a situation where you look at major home occupations, keep all the work behind keep all of the storage and all of the equipment behind the house, that's actually putting it right in front of the estate lot. So when you look at this particular property, and it's, whether or not it's reasonable for this property to be granted a special permit for this type of use, bear in mind that this is not the typical major home occupation application you're gonna find, because in this case, we have residences directly behind this proposed use. I'd suggest to you that under the bylaw, and I know that this was raised earlier as far as findings of fact, one of the findings the board has to make deals with the clearly incidental, that this must be clearly incidental to the residential use of the property, so that it's gotta be basically part and parcel with the residential use. And this is really not incidental to the residential use. This is auxiliary, this is a secondary use, but it's really nothing to do with the residential use of this property, other than he lives in the home and he's running his business out of it. So it's difficult to reconcile the clearly incidental requirement of the bylaw with this proposal. And I'd suggest to you that this type of use, this contractor's yard, this storage of this heavy equipment for off-site contractors, this really belongs in a different type of zone. It belongs either probably in the industrial zone, and even in those zones, it would require site plan approval. So bypassing the fact that it's a residential zone with residential neighborhood, residential houses all around, no site plan approval, gonna put this commercial use in this residential area directly in front of estate lots, so that it's between the applicant's home and other residential houses right behind it, located directly behind them, is not, at least I don't believe it's in what the bylaw contemplates for major home occupation. Usually those are matters that are done in the house, not done in the backyard, not done in the yard. It's done in the home, and that's why it's incidental to the residential use. As I said, the Rossettis are living there. There's currently, right now, I understand, a cease and desist because there's been this commercial use of this residential land, and that might be why the building inspector's gone up there to make sure that there's no ongoing use. But some of this, a good portion of the time, I'm advised that a good portion of the time, the trailer that's being used to haul this equipment is kept in the street, right in front of the property. So it's kept right in front of the property. They're moving equipment on and off. It's noisy equipment. It's really not the type of stuff you see in a residential neighborhood, and it doesn't really fit into the four corners of the application. So, given the fact that the bylaw already prohibits it, the bylaw calls this out as residential, and although there is exceptions for major home occupation, those major home occupations have to be incidental to the residential use. And the fact that the bylaw has provisions for this exact use with site plan approval in the appropriate zone. Squeezing all that into this lot, I think is too much for what the purpose of this bylaw is. This bylaw is not designed for that kind of relief. property owners that abut this are now gonna be dealing with noise, they're gonna be dealing with employees, they're gonna be dealing with repairs. I know there's repairs taking place. I know the applicant said that the repairs are minimal, but there are repairs, they're noted. Everything is heard, the houses are close, it says they're 150 feet apart, but 150 feet apart with the houses doesn't mean that the use, the storage, the moving of this equipment is 150 feet away from the residential houses nearby. Rossetti see this equipment all day long when it's in the backyard. It's not 150 feet away, it's right there in plain view. And there's a lot of equipment, it's moving quite often, and that's not what the purpose of the residential zone is. Rutland has a very restrictive zone. Now, a bylaw says what's not allowed is prohibited. And, you know, before the special permit, although special permit is, they have criteria for it, it is discretionary, and you'll look at what the purpose of that bylaw is and see whether or not this lot is appropriate for that use. And given the fact that it's surrounded by estate lots, it's got residential lots on each side, I suggested to the board that this is not an appropriate use for that kind of yard. That's my position on that. That's what my, I would recommend to the board to deny the special permit application. Mr. Rossetti's here, his wife, they may be able to speak on specific questions relative to what their experience is on site. But from a legal perspective, we don't believe that this site is appropriate for this kind of zoning relief.
Anyone else? Yes.
I have a question for Mr. Carizzi.
Your name, please. Your name, please.
My name is Cheryl Rofe. I live at 83 Glenwood Place. My question is, I'm hearing a complaint about how this looks and how it doesn't belong in a residential zone. I believe that the Rossetti's house just went under contract for sale, and it was for a very substantial amount more than they paid for it. So I find that interesting, considering the fact that this is such an eyesore in the neighborhood that the house sold. We know what it was listed for. I don't know what it's going to sell for. But that also suggests that the seller was willing to overlook, and the fact that it was under contract as quickly as it was makes me assume that this isn't the big eyesore it's being made out to be by a few families in our neighborhood.
Is there a question? To the chair.
I didn't see a question.
I don't see how that's relevant. I would appreciate if the issue stuck with the actual application versus personal attacks. I think that's what we're trying to avoid, right?
It was a fact. Your house just went under contract, and one of the complaints is that it's an eyesore.
And that complaint is in writing.
The house is not under
Okay.
contract right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know where this is coming from. The house isn't under contract.
Not an issue for the special permit, in my opinion.
It's not even an issue that's relevant to the conversation.
Okay, once again, anybody else? Yes.
Tony Santoro, 241 Glenwood Road. I would just like to know, where do you guys plan on drawing the line with this? Are you guys gonna go after every person who goes to work and drives their vehicle home? Because Bobby is a DBA, all that equipment is Bobby's. So you're gonna go after every landscaper, every tradesman who drives their personal vehicle and works on it to work and home? This kinda sounds like you're opening a pretty big box here. I mean, this is supposed to be a right to work town, right?
We have no right to work by law.
Do you want businesses in the town or not?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And let me just provide a little bit of insight in terms particularly of zoning enforcement. We do have zoning bylaws. We do not have zoning enforcement police. In these kind of cases, yeah, in almost all cases, the only enforcement comes when there is a complaint. That's the way it is in this town. That is the way it is in most small towns in Massachusetts. So trying to say that, this is gonna be the start of something, well, maybe it could be. Maybe some other people will start complaining. and then we'll have to act. But we certainly are not going to act unless there is a complaint. That's just the way things are here.
Don't have the staff. I think
No,
that's part
no,
of it.
it's part of it. I don't even know if we did have, I don't know if we would,
Yeah.
to be perfectly honest with you. Yes,
Robert Hug again. I just want to cite the right to farm bylaw. One of the parts says growing and harvesting of forest products upon forest land and any other forestry lumber operation. So what we do is we harvest wood for biomass and for erosion control and for mulch for gardening. So I believe that may fall under that category.
I don't think you can classify yourself as a farm.
Yes, because you're in
But
a
the
residential.
material woods is classified as farm.
Once again,
Farming, yes.
So we don't classify as farming, we classify as a farmer, if you understand correctly. I mean, it does state that it is a
Yeah.
right to farm
I
bylaw, so.
thought you had to have a certain acreage.
I think that's
It's
stretched.
gotta be
over.
5 acres for right.
George,
Just, I'm no disrespect to what he does or his service. We have the highest respect for him and thank him for his service. This is just not the right use for this property. That's what the point that's being made here, is that it's not, the fact that he may be helping farmers, that's great. Storage of this equipment on a residential piece of property is not consistent with the town's bylaw. It's not consistent with the major home occupation provisions of the bylaw, and it's not consistent and incidental to the residential use. There are neighbors that are by, and whether it's one neighbor, as you, Mr. Chair, noted, enforcement of zoning is initiated by a complaint, it's all under the statute, follows through a certain procedure. The cities have the right to make that complaint under the statute. The applicant has the right to make this application to the board. But then he still has to qualify for the relief that's being proposed. This lot, if this lot were a 5-acre lot, quite honestly, if this lot were an estate lot that were behind this, where there's no butters in the back, there's nobody right next door, and you can squeeze your equipment, you can put your equipment out of sight, you're not bothering people, that's what's appropriate. But not on a small 1 acre or 1.5 acre lot that's surrounded and certainly abutted in the rear, directly behind the storage areas where there's a residential home. That's not the place to put this. You wouldn't put this on Rolling Ridge, on Rolling Ridge Estates. You wouldn't put it in Bear Hill. If somebody came and said, I want to store an excavator and a dump truck and a pickup truck and a bobcat and a skid steer on Bear Hill, it would not be an appropriate place for it. And this residential neighborhood's not an appropriate place for it. And Rutland zoning identifies where it belongs. And even in those cases, you need site plan approval.
This written complaint blows it up to be a bigger operation than it actually is. It makes it sound like there's construction equipment being run every single day, all day long. It's 90% of the time the truck's loaded, ready to go, we just leave. It's not like we're loading up every day. We're not moving equipment around. It's one piece of equipment that we use for the operation. The other piece, it's a homeowner piece of equipment that is in the backyard. Also stated that the truck is parked on the road most of the time. The truck hasn't been on the road in over 2 months now. You're saying it's being seen from behind from Mr. Ricciuti's house. It's not at the house anymore. It's at my employee's house. It's down behind his house. So occasionally it's at my house, but that's when I'm doing stuff I'm working in my home. It's just being played to be a bigger operation than it actually is. It's not we're not running a business out of the home.
Mitch,
Okay,
Mitch.
hold on. Before you go, you said you weren't running a business out of a home?
We're not
Sure,
having
applying for-
customers coming in, we parked it. We have a home office, and it's not a big operation that's being played out to be.
Okay.
It's just like every other, like Tony Sandora said, just like every other place in town. People bringing their take-home vehicles home. It's not disturbing the neighborhood. It's,
Mr. City, 85 Glenwood Place. So I just want to clarify a few things. So I did file a complaint. I've heard from other people in the neighborhood, and I decided to write a written complaint as a constituent. And I sent a very detailed complaint to this board to the planner and to the zoning officer. So when you say the zoning officer hasn't made a comment, I mean, that's not really true. He came into the sidewalk of the property, issued a cease and desist, and found the property to be non-compliant with the existing zoning bylaw, which is what triggered this hearing today. Part of the finding from the building inspector too is that the machinery was parked in the road. I don't agree with Mr. Hype's assessment that it hasn't been parked in the road in 2 months. I've had photos sent to the building department, just a dozen over the last 3 weeks, that the machinery is parked in the public way, which prevents emergency vehicles from getting past that public way. While the street is a dead-end street, there's still about 8 more houses that are gonna be beyond that house. And there's been some instances where the machinery is parked in the emergency vehicle turnaround at the end of the road. Now, like to Mr. Santoro's comment, I understand that. I mean, I think everybody knows my positions on business in town. But this is also, you're setting precedent because we don't currently enforce zoning unless there is a complaint. There's a lot of these things going on in town that I think are disruptive to residential neighborhoods, and they're going to have an impact on people's ability to enjoy them peacefully, as well as on property values. So, you know, the other piece of equipment that said is for personal use is labeled and branded with the company's branding. It's always off-site. There's machinery running constantly. And again, it becomes an issue when you're parking this heavy machinery in the street. You know, my parents live on the other side of the road, and they're older. If there's an issue where an ambulance needs to get down the road, that ambulance can't access that property or the other properties at the end of the street. And again, that is why we're sitting here today. We're not sitting here to discuss the merits of the zoning bylaw. The actual process is that this was found out of compliance with existing zoning, which is why we're having a hearing as to whether or not to, the only 2 choices in front of the board are to decline the permit or approve the permit and impose a set of conditions that would alleviate all parties and maintain the aesthetics of the neighborhood. That's really the only question in front of this board as far as I can see and in terms of the planning board's actual official role in this process. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Yes, my name is Frank Rossetti. I live in the other side, 89 Glenwood Place. We originally bought that piece of property in a residential area. We were the first house built there after Phil's. And we were told there were going to be 9 houses eventually. It's a very remote part of Rutland. It's my retirement house. Okay, I worked a lifetime, public service. Okay. Not to contradict anybody and to try and maintain civility, there's another driveway being built between my house and Mr. Hepp's house. Okay, his plan probably is to bring his equipment into the back, into his garage. At that point, he did not mention that. Okay, to try and stick with the task at hand. Okay, there's multiple stories involved here that the board does not have to hear, okay, except let's stick with the situation. Life has become extremely complicated. Noise level is unbearable, okay, very nefarious undertakings, employer, employee, okay? That's why I came down to say what I had to say, that's all.
You say noise is becoming unbearable. Is that from all the dump trucks and excavators coming to the new houses or from us?
No.
I'm just curious.
It's from the constant behind the reverse beeping. As a matter of fact, this is a personal issue, so we won't have to deal with this, okay? However, after having read the bylaws, having gotten the letters from the town, I'm going to have to agree with the gentleman over here. I read them. It specifically says this is a residential area. I spent my life savings to build my retirement house there, next to my son. Okay? And obviously, we have some issues. That's my statement.
Anyone else? Comment?
Cheryl Rofe, 83 Glenwood Place. We live next door to the Rashidis. From a noise perspective, we have no issue. As Mr. Hype is saying, this is getting blown completely out of proportion. And as Mr. Rashidi said, there are personal issues, there have been personal issues between their family and a significant amount of the neighbors. This is not the first complaint to come before the town, and it probably won't be the last. My children play with the Hypes children. There is no business going on there during the day. Equipment comes at the end of the day. It's no different than us pulling out our camper, which is directly adjacent to their yard. It's no different than my boat trailer. It's the same level of noise, in my opinion. It has not affected my life. It has not affected my children's lives. It has not affected how we've lived. It's not been an issue for us personally.
Through the chair. I appreciate that sentiment. I know you had a bunch of land cleared behind your house last year. Can I ask who did the clearing?
Yes, it was,
Eric Woolander.
No, it was Mr. Apt and Mr. Day.
no, it was Eric
Eric
Solander.
Absolutely.
I'll
There's-
show you,
I have
I will show
receipts.
you the invoices, who we paid.
I did help them cut the trees, so
Yeah.
We
that-
helped him cut an
There you go.
addition here. See, here we go.
Yeah.
This is, wanna talk about personal attacks, this has been a personal issue, and that's why we're
Like this
here.
is-
Okay. Enough.
Yeah.
I just, Mr. Chair, I'd just like to return this to the bylaw. Those examples of a trailer or a boat, those are incidental. So those are ordinary residential uses. That's okay. If somebody pulls a boat out, I don't think they're pulling their boat out every day. They're not pulling their trailer out every day. This is equipment. On this particular job, the applicant may need, the Bobcat and the skid steer. On the next job, he's gonna need the excavator, he's gonna need, just the skid steer, or they'll be changing the equipment, they'll be doing the repairs. This is what is business. That's not what the boat is. And boats and trailers are incidental to the residential use. But that's not prohibited by the bylaw. This is prohibited. And I respectfully suggest that there is a difference between a business use, a commercial use of residential property, and an accessory residential use to a residential property. And Rutland has a bylaw. If that doesn't make a difference, then we don't have a bylaw in town. If you can just, on an ad hoc basis, say any particular business can go in any place in town with this special permit, then we don't have a uniform bylaw. And zoning under Massachusetts has to be uniform. So people buy in residential neighborhoods knowing it's gonna be residential. When they read what a major home occupation is, they say, okay, I know what that's gonna be. If somebody wants to put a craft shop or make model boats in their cellar, that's fine, they can do that for a business. You're gonna start doing a contractor's yard and start putting in all kinds of heavy equipment. That's not what this bylaw's contemplating.
May I read a letter from another neighbor located at 81 Glenwood Place. They're not able to attend today, but the letter states, August 24th, 2021, to whom it may concern, I'm writing this letter as I'm not able to attend the meeting in person. My name is Krista Howard. My husband and I have lived next to Bobby Hyde for almost 2 years. I'd like to officially state that the equipment that is being stored and used on the property is not excessive or bothersome to myself and my family. My husband and I are both in support of the major home occupancy permit. Thank you for your time. Signed, Tim and Krista Howard, dated 8/24/21. I can give you that letter if you'd like that too.
Can that get with Dave so it can get into the
Yeah.
record?
You could give that, please, to our town planner. Yes.
So, I'm Parker Rope, 83 Glenwood Place. My Suburban is registered commercial, so when should I expect a call from you guys for parking my truck at home at night?
Well, we don't enforce.
Okay.
I just want to make that clear.
No, I understand, but technically, by the nitpicking that we're doing here today, I'm expecting a letter next for my commercial vehicle parked in my driveway.
I'll be getting one too.
You will too, Kelly, yes, that's correct. And also, I'd like to point out, while I still have the floor, the 4 neighbors that surround Mr. Machete are all here today or have made a statement via a letter that Mr. Hype just read, and there are no problems. There seems to be a common denominator here.
Yes.
My name is Ashley Stitt, and we're at 93 Glenwood Place Extension. So we are just beyond the dead end. We have no issue with Bobby and his business. There is no noise issue. They are building 3 houses, I believe, behind me. So there is a lot of equipment coming in and out of our road right now, making a lot of noise. But it's not Bobby, and we don't have any issues. I mean, it's a guy in a truck and a trailer, and maybe one piece of equipment, and that's it.
To the chair, if it exceeds 10,000 pounds, it's gotta be a major home occupancy by the bylaw, so that. a
I mean,
guy in
I'm just
truck-
saying, it's not bothering me as a
Okay.
neighbor at all.
Well, then,
You're stating 10,000 pounds, my Ram 3500 weighs 8,500 pounds. Anything under or over 2.5 tons has to be registered commercially, under Mass State law. I checked with a couple troopers at work today that work at the truck team. So anything over 6,000 pounds is supposed to be registered commercially and lettered if it's registered commercially. I have one lettered truck, the other one is not. So I just wanted to state that.
if you're saying every machine over 10,000 pounds, are we gonna go after every homeowner in town who owns a big tractor then? Because that's still his equipment. He's a DBA. There's plenty of people in this town who have big tractors, running around without exhaust. He's not running it at his house.
I think I explained that zoning enforcement.
Like I
is
said, this sounds like a
initiated-
Pandora's box.
is initiated by complaint, basically.
So one last thing, I'm willing to work with Mr. and Mrs. Rashidi on what's going on. If they want me to put up some type of fence or landscape barrier to help out, I'm willing to comply with that, to do what's gonna make them comfortable and enjoy their comfort of life on the place. I'm not here to fight this, I'm here to take suggestions and do what I need to do to continue without a part or a negative impact on the gentleman that complained and his parents. So, I mean, anything that, I'm open to suggestions, I'm willing to put up arborvitaes, something to block, but like I said before, that majority of the time that the truck and trailer, it's a take-home vehicle, and my one employee takes it home, and it's tucked behind their house, not able to be seen from the street or any other houses. So, but anything that I can do to help the situation, I'm willing to do.
Yes,
Scott Day, 91 Glenwood Place. I work for Robert. I live behind Frank and Lisa City. Driveway's about 450 feet. My house, you come down the driveway, house is positioned on the left. Mr. Rossetti in front of me, his house is further to the left. I have a driveway that sneaks down next to my other driveway that was put in when Blair built the house. I tucked the machine and truck in there. My house blocks anything you could see unless you literally stared down my driveway to see the truck and trailer down there. I back down once a day. I pull out in the morning. Once in a while, I might pull the machine off to wash it. Still can't see it from anywhere except my property, because it would be in my driveway, blocked by my house. There's a big stretch of woods between myself and theirs, as far as the way the houses are faced. And again, it's not like this big, huge operation that it sounds like it's been written out to be. The excavator sits 90% of the time. He is a work in progress in his backyard as far as trying to clean it up. Everybody wants to improve their property. I was doing the same. And other than that, the machine doesn't get used there unless it's property improvement. And that's, I guess, all I have to say.
I'm getting a little bit confused
Yeah.
because the way you're mentioning it, this truck and trailer is never on your lot.
It hasn't been for a while. Occasionally it's there for a day, doing work in my house or whatever, but like I said before, he has a take-home truck and trailer. It's just down at his house. So for the past 2 months, it's rarely been at my house.
I had like Norm just through, I'm sorry.
Yes, my name is Phil LaRoche. I live across the street, probably the closest abutter to Mr. Hype. And, Your truck has been parked on the street for probably a year and a half,
Correct.
every day. And you take your equipment off on the street, you load on the street, you leave your truck on the street all night long. It's been very nice that your equipment has been moved from your property in the last couple of weeks. It's a big difference, it's so much quieter, it's really a lot nicer as far as I'm concerned across the street.
Correct.
Now, if you get this special permit, is that equipment gonna come back to your property?
No, it's not. Nope. Winter time, it'll be stored,
You're
on
gonna
site.
store it somewhere?
Correct,
I know you told me before, Bobby, you were looking for a place to store your equipment.
correct.
Is that what your plan is?
The future, correct, yep. So,
Get it out of there and store it somewhere else?
Yep.
That's what I would think would solve all these problems, just condition it. That's
I
my
mean,
opinion.
it is a lot, been a lot nicer the
Store
last
the
couple of
equipment,
weeks
this larger equipment
with the
off
stuff
site,
gone.
out of the residential
You
area.
know?
You don't hear it much coming and going, I
Oh,
would
no,
assume.
I don't hear it
It's
much
just a
coming and
truck
going.
driving out
But
and,
when you guys are changing equipment at night, you come in 7, 8 o'clock at night, you take the excavator off, you run the Bobcat up there, it's the backup alarms going on and off.
right.
It's been kind of a nuisance for the last year and a half. Me being right across the street. I see it all, I hear it all. So I was just wondering if that stuff is gonna come back.
it is not, nope.
That's my question.
Yes.
Lisa Rossetti, 89 Glenwood Place. As Mr. Day just said, their driveway goes alongside the property line. And every morning and every evening, Mr. Day is driving that machine up and down next to our house. For 450 feet, we have to listen to the backup signal every night. Every morning, we have to listen to that machine going out. We live on a dirt road, so it's very, very loud. Maybe it doesn't bother other people because we're right there. And as Mr. Day just said, 450 feet every evening. Sometimes it's early afternoon, sometimes it's 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And summer, the windows are open. It's a lot of noise.
Ashley, this question is for you. You are probably closer to Scott's driveway than Mr. and Mr. Rashidi. Does it, any impact on you as far as noise?
No, we butt up to Mr. Day's driveway, so, if I'm on that side of the house and the windows are open, yeah, I'm gonna hear the truck backing up. But is it a nuisance? No. It's 2 minutes of my life, and it's done.
Every day.
Every day for 2 minutes. Multiply the amount of days that you live.
The construction vehicles are worse.
I know, multiply every day that you live by 2 minutes going and coming, that's 4 minutes, right? I'm a retired person with a porch in my backyard, okay? I don't have to say anything further. 2 minutes doesn't bothers me.
More than 10 hours of dump trucks and equipment running.
Well, that's gonna be stopping, the building is gonna stop, they're building houses down there. Okay, that's going to stop, okay?
4 years.
Clearly, if people are gonna be allowed to say what they wanna say and not stick to the topic, I have a lot of things to say, but on the other hand, let's just stick with the zoning bylaws, okay? Let's just stick with that and just keep it at that, okay? There are other issues at other times, but just keep it at this. When I read this bylaw thing, it says quite specifically, this is a residential area. I spent my life savings to build my retirement house here. Okay? Every day, it's like Grand Central Station, one way or the other.
One last thing, Frank, you didn't have an issue with this last year before your son moved in until we started having issues.
Point of order, in a public hearing, we allow constituents to ask each other questions.
You
I thought
asked
it
me
was
one.
more open just for the board to comment.
That's right.
You're correct, you're correct.
As you can see, there's a neighborhood dispute.
There's no neighborhood dispute. This is a zoning
Really?
violation issue. It's been a little while.
That's the funniest thing I've heard all day.
It's
We're not
been-
getting, we are not going there.
Well, like I said before, I'm willing to comply and do what I can to make things better for the Rashidis that are complaining about the issue, so I am willing to do what I need to do. As you can see, you know, the 5 people that are here that support this say it doesn't bother them. I mean, it doesn't, to me, you get 5 people saying it doesn't bother them, you get 2 families that saying it does.
3.
Where's the third one?
Well, we
Phil,
got-
You already said it's been
we
better
worried
though.
about the
It's been
residential
better, but it's
portion
still
of this
loud.
bylaw.
That's what he said.
That's what I'm concerned
Okay,
about.
anyone else wish to speak? No, hearing nothing.
So one last thing, there's knowing that Mitchell City is moving, his house is under contract.
That's not a relevant.
But up
That's
until
not
that point, I'm
relevant.
willing to do what I can, so, he said it did in his complaint that it affects property values, but, for what he listed it for, what it was contracted under, we don't know what it was, it has not affected
That,
property.
that is not relevant either. Okay, one more time, anyone else wish to speak?
Move to close the public hearing.
I won't, because we don't have all the documentation.
No, not yet. I have, I guess, one particular question. Does anyone feel the need for a site walk on this?
Sidewalk that included the trucks in question.
To just, you know, see what the place is like, and among other things, if there were gonna be conditions on the special permit, that would certainly help us, to determine those.
I mean, we've got the time, because we're gonna have to continue, in my opinion, we're gonna have to continue this, because we don't have all the information for Dave with his findings of fact.
Right.
I think that's a good idea, I mean, I would be in favor of that.
So when?
Well, I talked this over a little bit with Dave last time, and, you know, my thoughts are, our next meeting would start 6:30 at the site. That's only a suggestion.
What's that on the 7th?
13th.
13th, thanks.
I think the 14th is the next meeting.
14th. Make sure that I'm not somewhere else. I'm clear, I'm good for that.
Through the chair, I have a question for one of the gentlemen that spoke earlier. I'm sorry, the gentleman in the back row there, and I don't remember your name. You
Scott Day.
Yes. I am a little confused because you said that the truck is generally at your house,
Yes, ma'am.
and is the issue with the rest of you folks that if the truck is at his house? Or is it the issue when it's only when it's at, the gentleman is supplying?
I can just speak on our behalf. I mean, it's both, because the houses are right next to each other. So it still creates, it's still the noise issue. It's still a parking on the road issue. So it doesn't make a difference whether the house is here or 50 yards to the left, or, I'm sorry, the equipment.
So in response to the enforcement case, bear in mind, there's 2 different things going on. Everybody talks about the complaint. That's an enforcement issue, that's zoning, that's not that's what this board's handling. But in response to the enforcement case, they simply moved the equipment next door to a friendly site and says, okay, we're no longer in violation, it's at the next property. So you have to do another enforcement case against that property. But instead, the applicants filed a petition for a special permit in order to bless the use that was the subject of the cease and desist. So if the ball were to keep on rolling in the current direction, we'd have a second enforcement case saying, stop your commercial use of this residential property on this lot and that lot because it's not allowed use. But instead of that, we're dealing with on a special permit application, run through the proper administrative proceedings, let the board make the decision on this. I don't think it's an appropriate use. And the use should probably be, the use should be relocated. If this were simply a single pickup truck, you'd never have a problem. That's not what generated that complaint, and that's not what's generating this application. It is heavy equipment, it's trailers, it's parking it on the street, it's constant use of this residential property as commercial, as opposed to parking a pickup truck or a van in your driveway when you come home. There's plenty of electricians that drive their work van home, and plumbers drive their work van home, no problem. That's not what's going on this site. There's heavy equipment being unloaded and uploaded every day.
Yeah, Mr. Carizzi brings up an interesting point, because this is a special permit for Mr. Hype's property, and if the equipment is stored at Mr. Day's property, because it sounded like that was going to continue. Is that appropriate?
Well, that's what I was gonna say to Norm. I've got an application here that doesn't say that.
Yeah.
So is the intent, assuming the special permit is granted, is the intent to bring the equipment back to your property for its nightly storage?
Nope, this is his take-home vehicle, so every day he uses it to go to work. So even if we did have a shop somewhere else, it's like someone that has a tractor trailer that brings their tractor trailer home at night, and then goes to work to really make their runs. That's basically what it is.
Yes.
It's,
But does that include the heavy
Tractor
equipment?
trailer, residential.
it's the truck and trailer, that's all it is. It's a skid steer, it's not heavy equipment.
Well, I mean, we heard discussions earlier about a couple of pieces of equipment that are over 10,000 pounds.
There's a truck the truck's over 10,000, and the skid steer is just over. So it's 10,200 pounds, but it's on a trailer. It's one commercial vehicle. I mean, when you say, in one of the bylaws, it says you're allowed one commercial vehicle over 10,000 pounds. Is that, can we clarify that? Is that a truck, or is that a piece of equipment?
It says vehicle.
Vehicle, so therefore the skid steer that's over 10,000 is on a trailer. So the vehicle, that one commercial vehicle, is I think just, actually, that may be under 10,000 pounds, the Ram 4500. I'd have to double check that. But it doesn't state that the skid steer would be a commercial vehicle or classified as one.
And the vehicle you're referring to is a large pickup
It's
truck?
a pickup truck, a four-door pickup truck.
See,
Thank you.
With the trailer.
if I can, I think that begs the issue. So when you start talking about this other equipment, it's not incidental to the residential nature of the property. That's why the bylaw's written that way. You get one vehicle, but you're not supposed to be storing excavators and bulldozers and tree shredders or whatever other piece of equipment that might be added to this in this business. This isn't where it's supposed to go. It's so if you have a business that is a true incidental to the residential use, that's what this bylaw's for. It's not to start this kind of contractor's business and then expand until you have all kinds of other equipment. And God bless them, for business is great, but it just doesn't belong in a residential neighborhood. That's what Rutland's bylaw says.
So you're saying there's a bulldozer. Like we said before, there was work going on in my house. I do not own a bulldozer. In Mr. Rashidi's report, he says something about there's two skid steers. We only have one. And as far as the vehicle that's classified as a commercial vehicle, it's gross combined weight, so over 10,000 pounds. So basically, the trailer on the truck is one vehicle, gross combined weight, over 10,000 pounds.
Yes.
It's very, very seldom, maybe 99% of the time, this machine is on the trailer in my driveway. It's not coming on and off. We used to pull it on and off at Bobby's house, like they had said. And as far as it coming on and off at my house, I literally back the trailer down, I get in the truck in the morning, and I drive out the driveway. There's not constant use of this machine on my property, on his property. It's a matter of, I'm his employee, and that's my work truck that I use to go to work to support my family. It's not being constantly used on my property and taken on and off the trailer. It's not happening.
Then respectfully, Mr. Chair, to the, then the application should be, eliminate the trailer, eliminate the skid steer from the application. So it's not on the property. Get the skid steer off the property, get the trailer off the property, off the application. Then you're dealing with a pickup truck. If the trailer's not gonna be on the property, and the skid steer's not gonna be on the property, and the excavator's not gonna be on the property, then that's not what the application is. The application's providing for a lot more than that. And that's what the focus of the opposition is. This is not an appropriate place for that kind of business. And so they're asking this board for permission to have a trailer and a skid steer and a mini excavator and a truck, and at least one truck, 2 trucks on this property on a daily basis.
So, it seems to me that that might be speculation.
What's that? Excuse me, to the chair.
If, it seems to me that we are dealing with a pickup truck and a trailer and the skid thingamajig.
Well, it's on his application for permission to do that.
So then you're saying that that can expand into another business, which
Well,
has no.
if he, right now, his application, just reading what he says, he's asking for permission to have skid steer, excavator, trailer, pickup trucks
Yes.
on his property. That's what the application is. But now he's saying, I don't have my trailer and my skid steer and my truck on the property. And everybody's happy. Not the Rossettis, because his application is bringing it all back on. And he's telling you, we're not gonna do it, but you're gonna give him a special permit that allows him to have a skid steer and a mini excavator and a trailer and 2 pickup trucks. You're giving him a special permit to have a contractor's yard there. And that wouldn't even be allowed as of right in an industrial zone without site plan approval. Hours of operation.
That is correct.
That is correct, yeah.
This is starting to get a little bit complicated,
Yeah.
a little.
Respectfully, Mr. Chair, to the applicant, if he wants to submit materials, I'd be able to review them. I've reviewed the materials that have been submitted. I have my opposition, I file a written opposition, but right now, I can only deal with what the application is. And if additional materials come in, I'll respond to him. If he says, I wanna park my pickup truck there, I don't think the Rossettis are gonna have an opposition to a pickup truck parked in this man's driveway. But they are gonna have an opposition to all the other activities that have been taking place there, and that's what generated the zoning complaint.
And the enforcement.
I'm learning.
Yeah, it is.
Does, it, and again, I'm not as educated as I should be, but does the plate that you have on your truck, is owner contract registered?
Nope, it's registered in my name, under the DBA, so it's owned by me, not a company.
And again, I need to do more education, but
Along with the trailer.
I've got
along with the
Mass
skid
Gov
steer.
that, I'm sorry, go ahead, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Everything that I own is under my name, it's not under the company, it's on the DBA. So it's technically my personal property.
And again, this is normally where I've got to get issued, because there's, on mass.gov, there's a owner contractor that allows construction contractors to move self-propelled construction equipment. That's on the road, so you're not doing that on the road, you're keeping everything on the vehicles and going to the sites, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, good.
I just suggested that DBA Corporation LLC, it doesn't matter the form of business, it's the use. That's what
Yeah.
you're considering here.
Do we need to have KP look at this to cover us? I'm getting to the point where it's getting complicated beyond
We have a
my
lawyer
expertise.
here, so therefore
Yeah, yeah,
we're
but
gonna have to
I
go
love
through-
George, but the town has to have our representation.
I got it.
So that's the reason why I wanna,
I wasn't thinking that direction, but maybe.
Respectfully, I suggest you wait till you see what your applicant submits, and then you can decide whether or
No,
not.
I don't mean now, so I'm sorry, Norm, when we get all the documentation together. I think we need, it's my
Well,
opinion,
yeah.
I don't know what the rest of the board thinks, but
To get,
get KP to give us a
Yeah.
look-see and see if we're missing something. 'cause
yeah, I think that's a good idea.
So no disrespect to anyone, but to me, one of the big problems with this whole major home occupation thing is that it can really be a bait and switch
Yeah.
type of thing. And that scares me.
Not only big switch, but it could be what they say today, in 5 years, they could grow.
In 1 year, it could grow.
That's true.
But the advantage with this special permit is, if I'm not mistaken, we have a yearly review. Okay,
Good luck.
well, I'm just saying, that's the bylaw, if I'm not
Yeah, I know.
mistaken.
I believe it's 2 years.
I don't know if it specifies the number of years.
I don't think so.
I mean,
It is, there is something about review, so it
Mhm.
is subject to review.
I don't believe
I
that.
don't-
I'm not sure that that's the case. I think if the board would like review, then the board would condition the special permit for a period of time,
Mhm.
such that the applicant would have to renew it
I know,
periodically.
I know we have in the other.
The exact bylaw says the special permit may at any time be subject to review or renewal by the board and may be further conditioned, amended, or revoked as necessary to ensure that the intent of the section is maintained.
But if you're looking for something specific, the recommendation would be a condition for time,
Yeah.
a specific condition for time.
Correct.
Would allow those things to occur.
I'm saying we have the,
You have the ability to place
Yeah.
conditions on a special permit.
correct, that's what I,
You know, it's not simply merely, I know the application said storage of equipment, all right? But it's not simply that. Whatever the business is, or may mature to, because we hope it grows. I mean, that's, I know they do, and I'm not suggesting that anybody wants the business to fail. But in the future, it may have chainsaws, he may be, he may be using chainsaws and operating chainsaws in the back, because that's needed as part of the business. That's not heavy equipment, but that's part of this kind of work. And that's the type of work that's going on, that's the type of work that can be taking place there under this occupation. You're gonna say, this is my business that's being authorized. And everything that's reasonable and incidental to this business is gonna be done. So if he gets a chainsaw in 6 months, and he's operating the chainsaw in the backyard, and he's working with that and making repairs to that, that's what the business is, and that's what the residents are gonna be dealing with. If he buys a new piece of equipment, he's not gonna come back to the board every 6 months to get, hey, will you guys bless my new pickup truck, not my old pickup truck, or I got a dump truck this time. That's not what the purpose is. That's the reason why this application, which is dealing with the business, is not appropriate for this site, as opposed to the pieces of equipment. And I think the applicant's focusing on a few pieces of equipment, rather than focusing on the business activity and the business that's on place there. And that's not what this bylaw is designed for. It's incidental, takes place in the residence. That's really what we're trying to accomplish under the home occupation bylaw.
Jim Sweeney, 23 Glenwood. I work for another municipality, and we do what you guys do. And you guys fill out that special permit. You put what he can put on that property. You make it expire in 2 years, so he has to come back. And you guys be like, okay, you haven't added anything, because we're coming out to do site inspections. And you have the right to do that at any point. So if you tell him he can have one truck and one trailer on his property, it's all he can have. If you show up and there's everything else, his business gets shut down and you pull his permit. We're beating a dead horse here.
I have one last question. I have a question for you or your partner over here. Is this a business that you own together, or are you working for somebody else?
Nope, I own it myself, me and my wife.
Just repeat,
Me
please.
and my wife own it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not partners.
Okay, no, I just was getting a little confused here.
Okay, no.
Joe, I mean, it seems like why, it seems like this is not exactly a home occupation kind of permit, because you're not actually at this point in time, doing anything other than bringing your trucks home, basically.
And that's basically what it's in the application, is we just bring the truck home, that's it. There's no business that takes, no sales or anything that takes place on the property. It's just like if I had a take-home vehicle from a
Yeah,
landscape company, you know?
I just wanted to make sure I had everything clarified in my mind.
And Mr. Chair, I think you just hit the nail on it. It's not a home occupation. The occupation's outside the home. The business, the store, all this stuff is taking place at the property, but this is not what the bylaw is designed to authorize as a home occupation.
I have one more question for George. Where does it say that this is aside from this, I don't think that this is relevant to this, what we're discussing here, but the idea that it has to be relevant to something that's happening in the home?
Incidental, so in the bylaw, condition B, it says the home occupation shall be, and it's not just incidental, shall be clearly incidental and subordinate to the primary residential nature of the property. So it has to be incidental.
It's incidental to the
Incidental to the residential nature. So
why wouldn't that include if someone opened a craft shop?
it would. So if they're making crafts in the house and that's what they're doing inside the house and that's what it is, that's what the bylaw is designed for. It's not, this is not designed for, running a business out of the house. It's so if a tea room, if somebody's doing a tea room or selling, wreaths or something like that, that's in the residential, it's in my residence, it's part of my residential use of the property. So I go down there and I started making Christmas wreaths. Next thing you know, I got a little workshop with Christmas wreaths and I'm selling little Christmas wreaths there. Perfect incidental use to my residential property. Not this, that's not what this is. This is a separate business, and it's, I just think it's they're squeezing a round peg into a square hole. It doesn't, this is not what the bylaw's for.
So if you had your little tea room, it would have to be in the house. You can't have anything outside the house.
Well, that's what it's designed for. They do have provisions as to what they can do and where the parking is.
That's not, does not apply to this case. I just wanted the sort of the broad definition of it. Thank you.
Jim?
I had a question for you, sir. Is there any other area that you, outside of the residential area, that you have the ability to store this equipment?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
I got 15 acres, I'll let them park on my property, and I live down the street.
But you're in a residential district, aren't you?
My property is Division of Forestry,
Same thing.
and I actually applied for a farming license, so I'm gonna be farming.
Fine.
But again, as they were asking, if you had a tea shop in your house, you gotta go through the Board of Health. Everybody wants their chunk of change. So, no matter what you open for a business, you gotta have a permit.
Yeah, my question, what I was forming it for was if it's stored in a business area or something to that effect, then it's not in a residential area, and that, to me, can be conditioned in a special permit. So it was just a question. That's the reason I just was asking if it was the ability to do that.
Quick question in that subject. If I did have a building or somewhere I could store it that wasn't residential, if I was to take it home, would that be an issue? If one night I had to work early and I brought the truck and trailer home, would that cause an issue?
You don't need a permit at that time.
I would tend to think not.
I would tend to think not too, but if it looks like a duck and it walks like a duck, that's fine. If you brought it home once, it wouldn't have been a problem. It's not as though it was the first time this thing showed up and there was a complaint. And if he moves it down the street to a 15-acre land, Rossetti's aren't gonna object, maybe the people that's living down there might.
I have no neighbors.
Okay, I'm just, no, through the chair.
right.
That's great, and so therefore there'd probably be no opposition.
I'm just looking for solutions that can be into this,
There'd
into
be
the
no
special
problem
permit.
with that. He
Norm, that's
wants
all
to
I'm
move
trying to
everything
do.
off-site, he doesn't need the doesn't need the special permit.
Yeah, anyhow, again, I was trying to,
I cut wood all day long. I burn 8 I'm surprised no one's bitched. I run a log splitter and a chainsaw all day. That hasn't come up.
okay,
Wow, no.
Norm, that's it for me.
Okay, one more time, anyone else? Then
So you were planning a site visit, you said September 13th?
14th.
14th to Tuesday.
Are we agreed?
I can make that one, Norm, I don't have
If I
anything
could,
planned.
Yes.
Dave?
we have a scheduled hearing for 6:40 on that night.
Oh,
So is there any consideration to move this earlier, do a site visit, and then come back?
I can do 6. I can,
6?
Yeah,
how many meetings do you have that day?
if I could, if you could pick her up earlier.
Yeah. Everybody can do 6?
I can do 6.
I could do 6.
We check with Kevin, I don't know. Kevin's not here, so we probably should.
Yeah, that's, I just want to refresh myself. Kevin's not here.
Can you participate?
Yes, he can participate if he fills out a disclosure form, indicates that he watched the video or has seen a full transcript of the proceedings, and he'd be qualified to vote at the next meeting. If you miss one meeting under that rule.
Yep.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Hi, Jessica City, 85 Glenwood Place. So on the day that they go out to do the site visit, right, is the board, I guess is the expectation that you guys are gonna be viewing the actual equipment that is proposed on the application?
Yes, I think we should see the equipment,
I'll have it all there for you, truck to truck.
you know.
I just wanna see the site, I mean, I've driven by it before, just in preparation for this meeting. So, yeah, I guess that's the best way.
Mhm.
I mean, we walked that road before.
What I mean,
And, I just have a,
that gives us the full picture of what the special
Size.
permit would allow.
Yeah, because it's the, where is it, special permits, the request is commercial truck and trailer with skid steer. Then I got an excavator over here on 2, so, should we amend this? Or this actual number 1 isn't right, because I guess I'm looking for where we should put the equipment, because this one, like you said, Norm, for the suitable, really doesn't fit.
Mhm.
But someplace we should have,
Well, you said the excavator's not used in the business at this point in time. The excavator's it's for his personal use.
okay,
Peter?
I was just gonna ask, are you sure that 20 minutes is enough time to do that sidewalk?
takes 20 minutes to get there.
It's 20 minutes, you're going to have to get back here in 20 minutes, leaving at 6:20 to make your 6:40 hearing. So, I just
We
wanna,
just can't start the hearing before 6:40.
well, that's
It
true.
has to start at 6:50. Wait till 6:50.
And I apologize, what's the 6:40 hearing?
This is a
On,
joint hearing between the planning board and the tree warden regarding tree clearing on a scenic road.
Denied.
Yeah.
we'll tell Joe that we're not,
Okay.
we could call him and explain to him that we might be a little late.
Hey, we're supposed to get input from DPW on this.
Bring him with us?
Yeah.
There you go.
It's not a bad idea. I like these joint meetings that we've had. It's productive to all of us in the town, so.
Okay, with that, we definitely,
I got a motion to continue. Continue this hearing till September 14th at 7 o'clock, or let's just do 6:30, because we can start it after that fact.
No, site visit starts at 6. Is that
Yeah,
a
but it-
continuation of the hearing, or is that a separate thing?
We have to start.
Oh, we
at
gotta
the
start it
site.
at 6, don't we? Continuation is 6, because we're.
Correct, at the site.
Yeah, I'll amend that motion to continue this hearing for the special permit
is to say
at
that you're agreeing
87
to
Glenwood Place
extension of the public
until
hearing.
6
Let's
PM
say
on
yeah,
September
right here.
14th.
So the project name, which I guess.
I
Just
seconded, did
no.
you get that?
Yep.
We both
Yeah,
did.
your name.
And I guess just for the public's knowledge, so this matter is not gonna be re-advertised in the paper again.
And I'll fill in the rest.
There won't be any other specific notification that goes to you as a butters, so take notice that the matter's been continued until the 14th of September, and also, it will be on the agenda as well. But this is your notice.
Today's the 24th.
Today's the
24th. All in favor?
What are we voting on? Sorry.
Continuing.
I continued it to Norm till September 14th at 6 PM on the 87 Glenwood Place public hearing.
It's been seconded.
Okay, any discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, just to verify this, is the board looking for any additional information that it does not have tonight from the applicant in or before the 14th of September? And if so, what is that information that the board will be looking for?
We had two items, Norm, the documents that Dave was looking at, I apologize for not, the fact-finding information.
Section 8B, special preliminary findings of fact, as well as some commentary on the definition of major home occupation. Those two work together. The definition has intensity measures in particular, and the rest of it has the findings of fact. So those two things.
And then we were looking, I don't know if it's Dave or us requesting that document from the,
Is it DPW?
no, having a brain death right now, this is what happens, you get too many things on your mind, from the building inspector.
And we're
When he
also
was out
looking
the-
for legal, for council's
I don't-
input before that.
I don't think I wanna, this is my opinion, Norm, I don't think I wanna do that until we're to the point we got everything in.
Yeah.
I just suggest, as a point, Norm had asked, further clarification as to the, I think it was part 2 or question 2 of the application, that says, how is it?
That was section B and then
Section
number
B,
1.
Yeah, so he wanted that further.
That was this, you were asking.
Yeah.
This guy right
Yeah.
here.
Well, I mean, it's, like I say, that answer isn't an answer to that question.
No.
And also, is the board looking to get some kind of a master list of all vehicles and or equipment that might be stored at the site in connection with this proposed home occupation?
Dave, that's not bad because section B, number 1, says commercial truck and trailer with skid steer on trailer, and then on number 2, it says noise by diesel truck, skid steer, and excavator, so they're not, that's where I'm looking for. They don't tie together, so I guess I'm looking for everything that would be, is maybe associated with the business? I'm looking for the board's input, is that every,
We're talking about just a separate list, standalone list.
what our expectation is when we go out there, you know, what are we, you
Oh,
know?
what are we expecting to see?
Yeah, that would be part of the special permit.
Anything that's mentioned.
Okay, well then that is the commercial truck trailer with skid steer and excavator. Okay, I'm good with that. I think that covers it, Dave.
Yep. Okay,
Thank you, folks.
That's it.
onward.
Next one.
Next. Papers are totally out of order.
Well, I've got the downs. We're on 4's done. I think we're on 6, 7, and 8.
And number 6, we have the new Quinn report.
Yep.
Yeah, let's do
I
it.
think these are relatively small items. I'll leave it to the discretion of the chair to understand how long it's going to take and let them do it. I don't disagree with you, but these are very quick, I believe. Probably 5 or 10 minutes at the most.
Yeah, I think, what's the first one? Maple Hill?
Maple Hill, nothing.
Sidewalk areas being excavated, properties with gravel placement.
6, move on.
Okay, so
Brice
recorded.
Brice Lemon, really nothing.
I got so many issues. Did they put any steps in?
There's nothing on Brice.
Britnell, Dave, didn't you have something you sent us on Britnell in the email?
Everything that was supplemental, you have on the table.
Oh, here it is, thanks. I missed
Three
it.
supplemental items. I provided copies to the board. They came in late, so they don't exist in the online packet, but they exist in paper form.
Yeah, so what was in that? We got two of them out of the way, Britnell, I'm sorry, Brice Lemon and Maple, so what's in Britnell?
Burial, I think, the estates, nothing else.
Oh, we had something on Britnell. No, I apologize, I'm wrong.
What, the Brintnal number 3? What was that?
That was just the extension.
Oh, the extension.
Yeah, because we had the reports
We're
coming
gonna have a
in.
discussion, please take it outside, thank you very much.
You got it,
Thanks.
Clee came in and said his engineer hadn't responded
Yeah.
yet, so that's, we pushed that off, right? He signed the,
And the thing, pardon me, the thing you have on Brintnal is some back and forth regarding whether the culvert and bridge design meets ASHTO standards. The response to that was that the consulting engineer would like to get a stamp to that effect, and that they do not engage in structural work. That was the Brintnal.
Yeah. And Tom Waxman has said they're getting.
can I ask the board, because I've been through this once with Bear Hill 1, can we get some input from Joe? Since he's ultimately gonna have to take care of this. We did it from Gary, and Gary went to DOT, whatever, but I'd really like to have Joe weigh in on this. Does he have any issues?
Let's get this final thing
Okay.
from Cleve.
Oh, I see, you're saying have the complete package and give it to Joe.
Then we can go to Joe.
I'm good with that, Norm, thanks.
Okay, so that was Bear Hill 2, right? The only thing Bear Hill 2 is, the thing that Carl did not get to see the gravel that was being put down. He has to go back up and dig some test holes.
Yes.
I think this is your copy, because I got two of them.
So, but that's about it on Bear Hill 2. Okay?
I'm glad they're keeping up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Carl's keeping up with that.
That's why he's the man.
So,
Okay, now we're at 10.
Have you opened your meeting?
We have not yet.
And you should.
Okay, we have a quorum, and
We should,
we are now open.
open.
Yep,
Should we
we're
get,
open.
Norm, should we get for the records, name, rank, and serial number?
It's,
It's a joint meeting.
Okay.
They have their own, they're gonna have their own
that's
minutes.
what that clock says.
All of that sort of
All right, good enough.
So, okay, so anyway, we have a letter, or a copy, no, I guess it's just a copy of a letter, to the town administrator and select board. And it says that the Rutland Historical Commission unanimously and respectfully submits for warrant placement in the annual town meeting on May 8th, the below and attached submissions for designated as scenic roads within the town of Rutland. The Historical Commission thanks the town administrator and Rutland Select Board in advance of their consideration. Their consideration was, they said, they felt it needed to come at least in front of the planning board. So, anyway. I guess, just, very quickly, is there any change in the list that we have gotten on this?
As of right now, we have no changes. It's, should be Cloverdale Road, Ridge Road, Davis Street, and Emerald Road, Irish Lane. That's
Well,
what we voted on.
Yeah. Anyway, I know I have driven over most of these very recently, myself, as part of getting ready for this. I don't know how many of the other board members have.
Many times.
I think we probably should still take them one by one,
Please.
just to make sure that there's, some agreement.
And make sure the mistakes are corrected.
Oh, okay. If there are.
I-
I see you have notes.
Yeah.
Okay, Cloverdale Road, and, you know, everybody can read, I'm not gonna read out all of these descriptions, unless somebody really wants to. If you got bad eyes or something.
Well, maybe the people at home might wanna understand what's going on, or
Okay.
you show it.
Okay, I guess for them, I can do it.
So we showing them, you know, the map, see that map right there, see the road? There
Yeah,
it goes,
this
that's
is
where it
being
is.
shared.
If you like the GIS, we do have that available for an alternate tab. If you'd like me to find the maps for this, I
Well,
can do that.
No, it's not for me, it's for the other
If you'd
people.
like for me to get to the,
It's-
I'll
Because
just have to
otherwise
toggle
it's being
back and
shared,
forth.
so I don't know, I'm saying, why read it if we can share it on the screen? Right?
If someone plays back this meeting, will that show up?
As long as the folks on TV are showing this, yes. Subtle hint though that may be, let me,
All right.
In other words, if someone wants to look at the recording of this meeting tomorrow night or Wednesday night, are they gonna get to see this when they?
Yes, and that's what I was gonna say, if they're not, then I think we should read it, but if they are,
Yeah.
I don't see
I
that.
am actually telling them to put it on the screen.
Okay. If that's the case, then I'm not gonna read it, I guess. Like I say, unless somebody likes story time.
No, this meeting is long enough.
Okay.
All right.
I do have just a kind of, first of all, question on Cloverdale. It says Cloverdale is an extension of Sassawana Road? I don't think so.
It's an offshoot.
Yeah, it's a side road off of Sassawana.
Well, as you can see, this is
Yeah.
draft to be submitted.
Well, yeah,
through the
but
chair.
anyway, you know, it doesn't really.
That's why it says Article XX. This was a first draft to the town administrator and eventually the select board for placement. So,
Like I say, I tend to get picky sometimes.
Yep.
But,
Cross it out.
Doing on the
Yeah,
planning board.
yeah. Actually, I think it's more from being on the ad hoc bylaw committee.
Or a math
Okay,
teacher.
the next thing is leading to old Ernie fails, negative, that's wrong. It was Embert Stevens that had the farm.
Who was that, Dick?
Embert Stevens owned the farm. Ernie fails, married Embert Stevens' daughter.
God bless you.
And it doesn't say anything about beyond there, of course. There's
Yeah,
another house beyond there. And that's where I went to kindergarten in 1948.
Okay, I'm just kinda curious, where does Cloverdale end? Does it end at that farm? 'Cause again,
No, beyond it, just beyond it.
I drove out to that second house. So is that still Cloverdale?
Yes,
All the way out to that house?
yes.
Okay. That's just curious.
Let me make a suggestion. I'm just thinking this as you brought this up, Norm. When this is put together for a bylaw, I think a good little GIS to what Dave said, map that goes with this would be very beneficial to the town folk that show up for was the intent for the fall town meeting or for the May town meeting?
Originally, it was for the Maytown meeting, but,
This
Or-
past May,
this past Maytown meeting,
Yeah.
so it will be for the
but
fall.
we'll
So-
be looking toward the fall.
Okay, that's what,
If there was a map that'll give people
that's what I was getting at, Jake.
you know, an opportunity to go out and discover it, which is awesome.
So, anyway, I don't know, I don't certainly have any.
I am in favor of it.
Yeah.
Cloverdale.
That's, I think, one of the nicest of the bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we need to just basically recommend yes as a group?
You know, I guess, I'm not thinking that we have to vote
No.
on each one of these, but.
through the chair. Jeff Stillings, member of this commission. My understanding from reading the bylaws that there's a multitude of commissions and committees that can submit
for being a scenic road. However, the bylaw specifically suggests that the planning board needs to have some sort of input through the hearing and.
Yeah, I don't think it does.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it is.
But we
that's
welcome
what I
that also. So again, this was submitted in draft from our meetings, and sticking with the charge that we have as the Historical Commission to try to protect the picturesque quality, as it says in the bylaw, of certain areas in the end. We narrowed it down to a half a dozen, I think was the number of areas that we would like to, fulfill that charge of protecting the picturesque quality of that by naming it a scenic road. So,
Well, it's, the way it's written, Norm, it says upon recommendation or request of the planning board, Concon, or historical commission. So I'm guessing that if you guys recommend it based on this bylaw.
Yeah, no.
And
it's not written that we have to do anything.
No, that's what, the only time it comes into play is if it wants to be repaired, reconstructed, or anything like that, then it's coming to the planning board.
but we're happy to welcome you guys as partners in this process, so.
I appreciate that.
We're trying to do the right thing,
We
and then,
appreciate that, too.
we're also a new commission,
Yes.
as you know. So this is the first venture
I'm
of this
just-
type that we're doing.
Again, this is just curiosity, because actually, this this is the one time I went down Cloverdale Road, really, by the entrance, but, I noticed, like, right at the entrance, there is kind of a remarkable stone gate structure type thing, which, I don't know, it just seems kind of odd that it's there, but it's
There's
There's a story to it, I'm sure.
Is it left over from the farm, Dick? Cause I'm asking you.
It doesn't look like farmers.
Okay.
It doesn't. I mean, it looks like it's really crafted.
A mason then might have done.
I would almost say it would have to have been a stonemason. And then partway down, there's a bench on one side of the road.
Yes. Is that for Dick to sit waiting for the bus?
Yeah.
Was that your old bus stop, Dick? Yeah, they have buses.
You can throw some at me later.
Yeah, there was no bus back then.
No horses stop.
Yeah. Had to fire the horse.
I think there's gotta be a lot of stories,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
that go with that road, definitely.
So that's part of the appeal to us.
Wasn't there an airplane crash there one time?
No, but the bench is there for the son that died.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay, well, there's the story.
I like that.
Your Glenwood Place.
Yeah.
You bear off to the right, and you go all the way up to the end there. That's where Ernie Fales used to live out there with his wife. And that's where the kid was showing off and put it into a dive.
And the bench at the end of this road is,
Yes.
does that get covered, just, again, I'm being curious, does that get covered as part of the historic portion of it, or?
We could add it in there, sure.
I'm just saying, something like that seems to me to be very
Well,
important.
It is. And I'm not sure that the extra historical significance was required as part of a warrant article
Yeah.
submission in there, but it was part of the process that we had in our original committee meetings to add some sort of background or provenance to why.
I don't know how you can add in any protections to individual.
If it's in the right of way, maybe?
Well, I think that's the
Right.
the wording of the scenic road itself is that things of that nature could not just be bulldozed over.
Yeah, that's what I was
without-
getting at, Jeff.
Without a real reason, and that's why we just didn't pick roads. There's history to it that we're interested in.
Okay, anyway.
Excuse me, just a quick,
Yep.
so, as I understand it, because the planning board and the tree warden have jurisdiction over the scenic road, over the scenic road bylaw, there was a sense that the planning board should at least be aware of this, should there be any hearings that come about later on these roads. And I also believe that it's proper for the planning board to provide advice to the historical commission regarding this matter. So to the extent that the board has a consensus opinion, that would be appreciated, because I believe I'll be writing a letter to the select board indicating the outcome of this and the planning board's role in this.
Do you want us to vote, do you think?
If not vote, then just
Straw vote?
indicate some kind of consensus that the planning board has no issue with Cloverdale Road being put forth as an
Okay.
additional road to
Let's
the scenic road
make it,
bylaw.
let's make it formal, we can do it quickly. Motion to give a favorable recommendation on Cloverdale Road,
Second?
in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And the house beyond there used to belong to the Curtis girls.
Okay, Ridge Road.
I'm struggling with this.
Oh, but you guys probably know that because I think I spoke one night at your thing. I do not particularly care for this to be, and it's not gonna be long, where it says, quiet and open space. Not for long. You know, Mr. Blair has a subdivision that's supposed to be going in there, and Mr. Zotley is, now marking up, for structures going on Ridge Road also. And, you know, never, I don't know.
I think 6 or 8 years ago, Ridge was bought before us for Scenic.
You do know that the
I'd have to go back and look.
town has a lien on,
Yes.
The only thing that does
you know, that I've
kind
been
of get me in this
trying
one
to get the town
is,
to
Subdivisions.
no, that's second,
take it over.
se-
far as I'm
second
concerned.
sentence.
And
Runs over
ethically,
from
I-
Wachusett Street.
No,
to the
no,
house.
sorry.
that's my
third sentence.
stepmother's house.
Street on the
Oh.
road is the Buck Farm, which contains the house. Oh.
But there's nothing I can
Yeah,
do because I signed the waiver way
I-
back. Not that
I've
anything
seen
can
that
happen, I
and
can't do
talked
anything
with, I
about it.
guess, one of the owners. The oldest house on Ridge Road, Beth Horton, is she one of the owners of it?
Who, what, where, when? The only owner right now, legally, is Jeff and Beth Morton.
Mm-hmm.
Tom is in a nursing home, and that's all there is. Other than approximately 20-something relatives that are involved.
Okay.
Perfect.
Anyway, I had a substantial talk with Beth. As I told Dick, I was out hunting for wild grapes. One of my weird things. And she happened to have a wild grapevine right out in front of her house, and she was just coming home as I was going by, so I stopped and asked her. Anyway, like I say, and she did mention that she is virtually certain that it is the oldest house in Rutland. I will admit, it is not in very good condition. I have no idea inside, but the outside needs help, big time. And again, I'm just wondering if in some way naming Ridge Road the Scenic Road would open any doors to any kind of help to preserving that house.
Grants?
Uh,
Don't you have to get
It wouldn't
the house?
hurt.
Does, what was I remember reading something about this. Don't you have to go through the process of like getting that house on the state register before you can attach grants to it? When I say grants, I
Most
mean,
likely.
yeah, so
and
that's
would
why.
they touch it?
We're in that process now as well.
Okay,
We're looking into that.
because my
Town
struggle
has a
with,
lien on it, you do know that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
well,
By the
I'm gonna be
town?
quiet, Tim, just be
Hmm?
quiet.
By the town?
By the town, yes. Becky has a lien on it. And,
I'm just struggling, and Norm, you said this
Yeah, close
earlier,
to
with the amount
100,000.
of modern construction that could potentially, well, there's subdivisions out, so it's not,
Yeah, it's gonna change it just like it's changing Brintnal Drive,
yeah.
you know? Brintnal
Yeah.
Drive was a scenic road and was really kinda nice.
yeah.
It has the potential for 52 new houses.
Yeah, you know.
Who approved that?
Hmm?
1976, the subdivision was approved,
Jeez.
Brintnal Estates.
Wow.
So I think the same would be for Ridge. I mean, what's approved is approved.
Yeah,
But, again, our charge is the protection of the
yeah, oh, no.
scenic culture and stuff, and that's, this history
I'm
there.
struggling with Ridge.
Anyway,
I wouldn't think that, I mean, it's only a certain portion of the right-of-way of the road. It's not to say that that would negate the fact that we can have a development, I would imagine.
Right.
oh no, you can definitely still develop it.
Yeah.
Well,
And just so you guys know through your chair, all this is something that's already been through our meetings and already voted on, so, I mean, we have already voted to present these to a town warrant in there, so anything contrary would probably have to go back to us. Whatever, so this is a little bit after the fact, I guess, is what I'm trying to say? That
Yes.
our commission has already voted to push for these,
Correct.
so.
And you feel strongly about Ridge Road?
Well, yes, I'm big into the history, and what interests me is the French and Indian War, or maybe the King Philip War connection in there. In that area, there is a hint of a Native American burial ground in that area.
Yeah, this is, you
at
see,
least,
it's rumored, how rumored.
right? But if there was anything close to some sort of a battle encampment in Rutland, absent the colonial barracks, which is a barracks, but not a barrel, it would be that Ridge Road area in there, right? Would you
In
say
all
so, Dick?
honesty, yes, in all honesty,
So
because that's where the trails for the Indians were from,
If-
not Wachusett.
If we were to do our commission justice, and we were to figure out what areas need to have some sort of a preservation, and the Ridge Road is high on it because of that. Not only French and Indian War, but the KP War. I wish I could remember who it was, but somebody told me that there was artifacts in that area, shrapnel, that it wouldn't have been Revolution, because we had no Revolution skirmishes here, so it would have to predate that. The very beginning of Rutland, which is,
I have a grandfather and a grandson that have been doing some metal detecting
Yep.
down by my place. The stuff they're finding is unbelievable.
and it's all that area,
And
Rutland
I would
began
love
at,
to see them go out there to, to try that.
Me too.
Yeah, Dick's
Me
convinced me.
too.
Rutland originated at the Mushkapog
Dick's
area north
convinced
to
me on
Comet,
that
as a
Ridge.
Comet. That was that area right
Mm.
there. Anyways, yeah, of course, we feel strongly about all of these submissions. We appreciate your support, that's all.
I don't have any problem.
If we can get rid of a couple of these subdivisions that might be coming up, I'd love it.
Yeah.
That's not our time.
Yes, it is. You can be out there fighting with us.
I would note that the property that oldest house is on, is, put it bluntly, junky.
But it's likely to come into town possession,
Yeah.
one way or another.
Yeah.
Therefore, this is important. Our decision and your decision is important,
Yes.
of the preservation of, if there was a history. in
Jeff, how
there.
much property is on that, where that house is?
Buck farm?
Acreage.
It's like 20?
It's more than that. Both sides of the road, you got 26 on one side, and I forgot what the heck was on the other.
My fear is it comes into town property and go out for auction.
I have fought.
That's not my fear.
I have fought to try to get it over on 61 and everything else. And a certain young lady from this town came in and, when I was talking to Margaret at the time, and says, all I want is money.
Well, that's the only thing I
So
want to
that's
present
what-
to you is the natural progression once it goes to land court and Becky gets all the title taken over to the town. The next option is auction, if I'm not mistaken, how the process works.
But
So,
That's universal in this town.
okay, well, that's all I wanted to bring up to you guys, because
That might be that might raise this, just a significant cause to get it grouped together, to raise some money,
Absolutely.
to buy it, to preserve it.
Yeah.
And I think town meeting would be one place where if we raise something like this, that would be a side issue where we can start raising that support.
This would certainly be a healthy start to preservation of that.
okay.
Okay.
And
Straw
then,
vote.
and then on the property, you can go over and find the horses that drowned too in a
I
swamp.
motion that Dick's bench is preserved.
Yeah.
No, a motion to endorse Ridge Road to the Historical Commission.
I'll second.
All right.
In favor?
Aye.
Davis Street. I have to admit this, I had never been all the way through Davis Street. I had no idea it was as long as it is.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, it's,
There's also wild grapes.
Hmm?
There's also wild grapes.
Uh-oh.
And
I didn't see any.
is there,
Is it
there's
there?
nothing in there that says anything about Sandy?
I used to make jelly.
About what?
Sandy?
Was that an old girlfriend?
No, she used to work for the town of Rutland for crying out loud. She lived on
My
there.
sister, yes, Sandy Five.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no mention of her.
I thought what was interesting on this part was the, was it the grist, Lynn, that exists on Davis Street, that shows the Native American, what's the word in there? Something that exists on, Davis Road about,
Oh, that's on,
The arch
it's on the
culvert?
common. The grinding stone?
yeah,
Oh,
That was donated by George Davis to the town,
Okay.
it's on the common.
but it came from
Probably
Davis.
was an Indian though, and
I thought it came from.
was that grinding stone from
Yeah, it's an Indian grinding stone. It's right up in front of town hall.
Okay, I saw that, but it originated from Davis, that area, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The road is not in a wonderful shape.
Which one are you referring to?
Davis.
Or Palmagussit, actually.
Well, yeah.
No,
All of
them. But Davis has some places where the pavement is
Yeah,
gone.
it's gone.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with this one, there's a lot of history here.
It is a lot of history. And in a way, I'm kinda glad DCR has, the back part of it down near the river.
I'll make a motion to the planning board to endorse Davis Street to the historical commission.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. This one here, I'm
Mention
gonna
it.
say this, I am so happy to have read this and all of a sudden put something together that I've been fighting in this town for a long time.
So what?
With the Board of Assessors on a piece
For,
of property. In the thing, in here, you talk about Irish Lane and how it went all the way over to Pleasantdale.
Yes.
The Dublin section,
Pardon?
that was the Dublin section of
Dublin,
Rutland.
correct.
Yes.
Well, I have been with the Board of Assessors trying to find out, for the town of Rutland, who owns this piece of property, and with no outcome, and the Board of Assessors woman told me, she says, I have looked at everything and I can't find out what the heck this is all about. And, now you had just brought it up, and I can't remember, Norm, when you get four corners, go towards Paxton, and the first, used to be a building that had, TV stuff or videos or something like that, but there was a beer joint or a joint up there way back.
Is that what Cracked is, that house next to Cracked?
Anyways, this thing is in the back of that, and it showed up on George Lucier's, he sold it to his sister, I believe, a piece of plot of land in the back, so. And finally, to me, that is what it is, it does belong to the town of Rutland, and it is probably part of Irish Lane originally.
Yeah.
It was all, I've got a, there's a map up at the Historical Society from 1830, and it goes right over there.
Yeah.
And when I was up there going through some of the maps, I think there was one from 1934, where there's dotted lines going through that.
How big?
Okay, so it went all the way, it went from there and, from Pleasantdale, and we hunted over there many times. There's still a lot of foundations and, mills, everything from that part of Rutland, from the Dublin part of Rutland. And it goes from all the way up there, and I don't know when they changed it to Emerald Road, but it basically goes all the way down through Pine Hill and hitches on a Causeway Street, and goes all the way down to 122A, which was part of the old, the Hardwick Turnpike that went through the Central Tree Road, and all that, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, it's,
Thank you for all this, really Made my day.
So each of the commissioners took a sample of this, so this is like our homework assignment for individuals, so it wasn't all written by one person. Like I believe, Mark, you did the background on this, so it's very educational for all of us.
I'm motioned out, somebody else do it.
I'll make a motion to accept Emerald Road and Irish
I
Lane.
find this kind of interesting, 4 rods wide.
Yeah, I saw
66
Yeah, 4 rod.
feet.
That's what all the homes were, all the roads
Yeah.
were 4 rods wide, except for, well, 10 Rod Road.
10 Rod was Main Street.
Out here was Main
Right.
Street.
Yeah.
But that was part of the original planning, plus 30 acres for everybody, which it's too bad we don't
Certainly
do
isn't
that
really
now.
that wide.
Yeah.
It should be the same size now,
For
but
a carriage, not
I
for a
digress.
horse or something.
Yeah.
Only 66 feet. That's
It doesn't, as a
That's big
mathematician.
enough for a 4-lane highway.
Yeah,
Turkey Hill Road, we have the maps, the original maps, plot plans are over in Princeton, the Princeton Historical Society. Well, we have them up here in 1731. I was telling my son-in-law, I said, this road, it's been here since 1731, and he said, yeah, they haven't done anything to it yet.
so for us people that, so a rod is 12 feet, 6 inches?
No,
No,
16 and a half
16
feet
feet,
and a half.
16 and a half, I'm sorry.
I have in my
4
general store,
times 16 doesn't equal 66.
Yeah.
I have
4 times 16.
An ancient
You're right, I'm
chain.
doing my math wrong.
Yeah.
New math?
66.
No, don't even mention that to me. I learned to add and subtract actually. in class.
Good.
Yeah.
So
that new
one
math.
rod is how many?
16 and a half feet. That's why 10 Rod Road is 165 foot.
You're right.
Anyway, you need a motion
Yes.
on this one. Was there a second?
I'm seconding it out. I'm gonna leave this to Maryland.
I'll second.
In favor?
Aye.
Okay.
So Dave, there you go.
I think that's it.
Excellent, I appreciate that, thank you.
That's it.
And someday, are you gonna be working on scenic bylaws, the bylaw scenic road?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's on our list.
Let's move the what is that? I'm having a brain death again.
Use your words.
I know. The setback from the road,
The right of way.
right away needs to be 45 feet. I'm kidding. I'm just-
How many rods?
Yeah, somebody wrote-
About 4. 4's good, on each side.
Shall be 4 rods, hence.
I think in the future, you know, in years to come, sometimes I think where power lines are concerned and everything else, we need to make sure trees are taken out, and it should be an easier way than having, going through, you know, all hoops and hollers and everything else and special things. We are now having, I don't know how many scenic roads are gonna be on the list, but it's gonna be a tremendous amount.
So is the grid gonna have to come to the planning board with the
Well-
tree warden every time?
And that's it.
Oh,
And
boy.
now, if the tree is diseased, do you wanna take it down prior to, or have to wait for it to crash? And to me, this is one of the things that maybe trees ought to be taken out of there and let the trees come down, because the trees grow.
Or you could put exception in there as a public requirement for safety in the scenic bylaw, which gives the grid the ability to make that call, because they have arborists. I know Eversource does. We have certified arborists that actually go around and check our lines.
Well, how come they have it? National Grid apparently doesn't, because they haven't done
I
it around
can't, I
here
can't
lately.
speak to them. All I can speak
Yeah.
to is the fine Eversource company I work for. Recorded, please.
I'm almost thinking that there's a provision in the scenic road bylaw for emergency use.
Well, see, that's emergency, and to me, for crying out loud,
If it's a dead tree that's gonna fall on the power line, that's an emergency.
well, I think there should be somebody a little bit more,
Well, that's what our arborists, they basically have, they go down and say that branch is hanging over that, 12.5 kV feeder coming into Rutland, it's getting moved.
But our tree warden is the DPW director, which has an engineer degree in what? Sewer and water, but not for,
Well, he has a PE license, and as we found out, that license can be used on anything in Massachusetts as long as you're qualified.
as you're qualified. But
Sorry, I'm being
that's why I'm
facetious.
saying that, to me, for crying out loud, in this day and age, there's an awful lot of trees that should be,
Well,
I have a question for the board.
so anyways, that's why I'm saying there should be
Outside
something
of this meeting.
rewritten in it.
Do you, have any information on the Ward gentleman who was killed up here in the center of town by, his name is on that stone thing there? Is that-
Hutchinson or the, are we talking about the Reverend and his sons?
No, this guy was a soldier,
it does not
he
affect.
was on barracks.
I'm not reading that right.
He was
Oh, thank
barracked,
you. I read that
barracked,
one.
I guess, anyway, down on Glenwood Road, and he's, you know, there's a marker up by the cemetery, and it lists how many, like 5 people, I think, who were killed.
Yes.
So,
From the Indian raid.
yeah, and then.
Yeah, that was
Because
the,
anyway, I have some information on that if you'd be interested.
Oh,
He was
yes.
actually the nephew of, or he would have been the nephew of Artemis Ward. He was in that family, which, he was one of my ancestors, so,
we would be interested, and it was 1714,
yeah.
right? So we would be interested as part of the 300th committee, if you had something you wanted to come join us.
Oh, okay.
In a meeting, we're interested in historic retelling of some of those things.
The
different
only
ways.
bit I have on this is out of the, what do you call it? I'll talk about blank on, the list of relatives and.
Genealogy? Yeah, genealogy.
Genealogy.
Sure.
I have the genealogy reference.
That would be interested, nothing to do with planning board or, but we would be interested in that to see if there was any living ancestors now. Like we did for Moses Howe, our first selectman and lawman. We found out that his descendants are the Amsdens. And we included them in the annual Moses Howe Award with Detective Sanji's widow. And we had the Amsdens and Mrs. Sanji together. So something like that for next year, we would definitely be interested in, and so, you know, we could educate the public on some of the historic. You know, an Indian raid of 1714, 2 years after our founding, would be significant, you know? That's a big story to tell.
Yeah, it was part of one of the wars that you were mentioning.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Come visit us.
I will.
Thanks, Barry.
When do you,
Well, we were meeting, the 300th was meeting every Wednesday, but with the concerts, we meet at 5 o'clock before the concert on Fridays.
oh, okay.
The commission meets the
Second
second Tuesday of every month.
Tuesday, yeah.
We're also at the Woodhouse.
5:30, it's
Oh, okay.
Wood Studio.
It'd be, and 4 o'clock on, before the concert, or you won't?
So just, we're doing the 300th is doing the concerts in the Common every Friday through this month and very likely next month.
Well, my stepson is the drummer on your band this week, so I'm gonna be at the concert.
The Midnight Riders?
Pardon?
The Midnight Riders? The
This
kids?
week, no, Mind Drift.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Mind Drift is this week, and then we get the
In fact,
kids.
about 30 years ago, they started out practicing in our garage. Wow, for the neighborhood.
Well, come on out. Come on out.
That
the
sounds to me
workstation.
like a home occupancy we should be talking about.
Commercial?
I know.
Commercial.
Commercial band?
Commercial band.
Are we all done?
They have a really,
Yeah, unless anybody has anything, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
The Historical Commission.
Let these guys get back to the
All
business.
right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
I just got
Thank
one
you very
question.
much.
I just got one more question.
Sure.
Whose land are those grapes on?
mine.
Yours?
You gonna make jelly or something for her?
I used to make jelly from them.
Yeah, I usually just make grape juice. And it's, the wild grapes, they make grape juice like, you can't buy it. It just tastes very, very different.
So how do you ferment it for a while?
Wild grapes do not make good wine.
Okay.
They're just, it's even, you know, let's put it this way, the only Concord grape wine, which is what these wild grapes almost are, you'll ever see is Manischewitz.
Oh boy.
Is that in a box?
$3 a keg.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not box of wine, it's barrel of wine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
I just had a grandfather made dandelion wine, that stuff wasn't bad.
mhm.
Bring it to the concert.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
that
wish
band
you were
has a
still
really
around.
big following in Rutland, so.
I hope so.
Have a lot of people
Oh,
there.
good.
Yeah, it's been very exciting for the town.
I heard you had about 200 people turn out on this last.
We we stopped counting at 150 last week, and I think that was the best we've had, believe it or not, with the weather.
Jeff, can I ask you a quick question? This is sort of off the, you guys have a couple people serving alcohol up there, right? The
No,
milk room, and there was like
just milk room.
I thought the tavern was serving margaritas.
They were doing their takeout.
Okay.
The takeout that the
I
governor
just,
allows.
in the past, we've always had one license, and for now, some reason, I gotta get 3.
Yeah,
Don't, no, I just wanted to ask you if you had one or if you had,
we
multiples.
didn't, we just, well, Milk Room is sharing profits with us, that's why, so it's a partnership. But each of them, even the Center Tree had to have the town of Rutland added to their thing, and then the Milk Room had to have the town of Rutland. 'cause
and then
that's
they
what
each
had.
got individual
They-
one-day permits, correct?
Yeah, the Milk Room has been getting a month-long
Okay.
permits, and then we just redid that.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm going through that, and I didn't do it 2 years ago. I just came and got one for everybody, and the fire brigade was in charge of shutting
Yeah.
it down at 5 o'clock.
Well, I mean, if they're gonna waive the fee, then get them,
Oh, I don't,
you know,
yeah,
just
yeah.
have them,
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
whatever,
Okay,
you
just
know.
question, I got the forms, Beth is phenomenal.
Yeah,
She's got me everything, so good enough.
they've
I'm
been good to us. We'll let you guys get back to your business, but thank you for your partnership.
Thank you very much.
Means a lot.
Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Thank you, guys. Good day.
Thank you. You take care now.
Take care.
2 more and we're off.
No, we have 3.
Yeah, well,
2, really.
Her name is?
Fife.
Hmm?
Her sister's name is Fife. Sandra Fife. That's what, so I don't know what her married name is.
Look them up on the commission.
I'll look it up. Okay, ZBA matters.
Yeah.
I'm struggling with the first one. I'm not happy, but I don't know what the reason I'm not is because it's inside of our setbacks, and I just don't see, I don't know, the previous house wasn't, now it is. I guess I say, me personally, to the ZBA, no, follow the rules. Can't build a house inside the perimeter, come up with a new house design.
I say because of where the septic is and all that, that's the only place that it can be, you know, keeping everything away from the well. I have no problem with it.
It went, I don't know. I see your point, Dick, but you're going from this standard house at Finn Park to this McMansion, and to go to the McMansion, you can't be within the setbacks. I don't see that as a town problem. If you wanna build a house that big, go buy a piece of property that it fits on. That's my opinion.
So there's. Are they looking for?
They're looking for relief on the setback, and the frontage,
And frontage.
and size.
Actually, that structure complies with the frontage requirement of 30 feet. What they're seeking is variances for both side yard setbacks to allow the structure to be located closer than the allowable 20 feet.
20.
I thought it was frontage too.
Nope, not frontage, side yard setbacks on both sides. So one side yard setback would be 12.2 feet instead of the required 20 feet. The other one would be 12.4 feet instead of the required 20 feet.
Oh, so
The
the
frontage
R,
requirement is 30 feet, and this has 36.7 proposed.
so in the description, when they said R60, they were meaning the R60 that's associated with the setbacks.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was.
For all other intents and purposes, the lot is non-conforming with respect to area for frontage, so those are vested rights. It's the structure itself with respect to the side yard setbacks.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, it's just, that's my opinion. I'll go with what the board wants, but.
It's, I guess the thing that kind of gets me on this is that, and I don't know how many there are, but I think there are a number of older, small houses, cabins,
Yeah.
I'll even call them, you know, all down along there.
This doesn't
And-
conform to it.
And there's a pretty good chance that somehow or other, they're not gonna deteriorate, they're not gonna get taken care of.
The cabins?
Yeah.
That's a
They're,
very,
they're so old.
Yeah, and I know, for some reason or other, I was down there, I think it was planning board, it had to be. Yeah, I looked at one of them, was one that, Tom Olson, guidance counselor, wanted to essentially tear down and rebuild. And you know, you could see that for what was there, yeah, making it really good and livable by today's standards, you pretty much couldn't do it.
Didn't we also go down there when we did the solar,
the solar backs up
the
to
solar
this,
backed up to this place,
backs
and we
up.
went in there to check out the back end of it.
And actually,
I'm not sure if we
the
did.
new
Yeah,
house
we
or
did.
the older house?
It wasn't this particular
Listen, that
thing,
solar
but it was
place
on
is
the
where
other
I was
side.
hunting deer, and he got rid of my hunting deer place.
Yeah.
You
The,
got rid of Randy's cornfield.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess I see the point
So
of saying, Norm.
your point is that they're gonna deteriorate and they're gonna build
Yeah,
up something.
and this is obviously going to be a modern house built to today's standards.
Yeah.
And they're really,
And it's, you know, it's almost, and I realize it would be a totally different thing to have to do. But this is the kind of thing I just love to see happen, like down at Cool Sandy Beach. All those things down there, combine a couple of lots, 3 lots, 4 lots, whatever you have to, you know, and build something nice.
Yeah.
and there are other houses, I haven't been there since before the pandemic, but they always had the Finnish community over there had
Yeah.
a really good barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
I'm Mr. Winokur, I've been over to the sauna many times for relaxing time, so.
so that, but there are other larger houses in there
Mhm. Yeah,
already.
yeah.
It's not totally
I don't have.
one of a kind.
All right, I'll zip it.
So the board has no concern with this.
No.
Correct.
This other one,
Then there's one more.
This one actually was pretty easy, I didn't have an issue, I'm like,
I don't even know what Brintnal Road is.
It's in Watson Estates,
Okay,
off Main Street.
okay, I figured it had to be in one of those places.
so they're just expanding the deck and putting a 3-season porch on it, from what I can gather.
Yep, and they're looking for a side yard setback of 14
Yeah.
feet to the
And
required.
the only thing when I looked up, I thought I did a map on this, oh, this one already had a thing. Was this the property that had the sewer line from the sanitarium coming from it?
No idea.
Property that had the sewer line coming from it.
Well, from Rutland State Sanatorium, there was a sewer line that came down and came up into Ten Rod Road, where they had the big field. That's where they had the sewer field, it was up there, the leach field. And I can't remember if it went by this piece of property or through it,
I see.
so I don't know if there's any,
Obstacles.
correct.
If there's any easement or encroachments, the DPW usually takes a look for those.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be,
I don't have any problem with that one either.
All right.
Okay, accessory apartment bylaw.
I think, and what we're looking for here is just a date to see if the board would be agreeable to meeting next Monday, the 30th of August at 6.
It works for me.
I think I'll be back.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
going
I
to see
think-
Trolls, so.
I think I'm okay.
Are you seeing Trolls on this Thursday by any chance?
No, Thursday I will be in Framingham putting fiber optics in.
Would you be available for the master plan steering committee meeting? Sorry,
That
Mr.
night I will
Brice.
be.
I apologize.
I'll have the Zoom in, but I can
That's
definitely
fine,
be.
we have a remote option.
Yep, I'll be there on Thursday.
We're just concerned about a quorum because we have 3 people who cannot attend and we need 5.
Okay,
So if
I will
you
be
could
there on
available,
Thursday.
that'd be greatly appreciated.
Yep, I'll be zooming in for that one.
So for the accessory bylaw, everybody's available on the 30th.
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
up, Wayne?
Very good. Can I just get 5 minutes before we make the presentation for the town center report?
Yep.
Thanks.
So the accessory was Monday night, wasn't it?
Oh, that's what I was gonna, I sent an email, did I send an email to Dave I think I did, asking for the updates. I copied you, Marilyn, I think I did, maybe I didn't, for the actual, like, Word document, so we could look at our PDF. Did I send that, or did I think I sent it, I did it?
It doesn't sound like anything I have.
I bet I wanted to do it and forgot to do
close,
it.
but-
Yeah. Oh.
I thought we were gonna need to use that a couple of times.
Yeah, let me see, I thought I sent.
I mean,
The gavel.
Yeah, Norm did a great job of handling.
you did.
Well, it wasn't quite as raucous as I thought it might be.
Yeah, we've had raucous or
Yeah, yeah, we have.
George did a good job, I'll give him
Oh
credit.
boy,
for
am
that.
I'm divided on this one,
You, me, boo.
really divided. And like I say, it was,
Well, then why do we have a major home occupancy?
I did, I sent a Maryland on
And to me, for
8/16
crying out
to
loud,
David,
they have to,
asking
people
him
have
for
to
the
start
document.
someplace.
the document.
yeah.
I said, hope your vacation
I
for that,
can't
could you
argue
email out
that,
the latest
but
document for the bylaw discussion?
Well,
to the
Not
entire
everybody,
committee?
and
My idea of the major
The
home
marked up PDF that you
occupation
guys had done the last.
was something that
Yeah,
is
but I'm
done
not sure
in the
about
house.
that.
No, I sent it to David,
Oh,
cause you
Like a
mentioned to me that
craft
David
or-
had it.
oh, I see.
You know,
So I just,
something
but I
like this
copied
idea.
you guys, so he would,
Making reads.
when he would send the document,
Making
he'd get it to all of us.
For all of us,
Yeah,
okay.
that was the basic, but I could have sworn that we also did that with, Central Oil
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and,
Yeah, and-
there was a couple others too.
Mhm.
But, yeah, to me, thanks to George, I feel that, the town council has to get involved with this.
I think it's a must, once we get all the
Yeah.
documentation.
Yeah.
And we should probably come
But
up
the-
at our
the-
next meeting, come up with a list of what we're gonna ask town council. Make sure we
The,
get
No,
us-
I want town council before us.
I'm okay with that.
Amy said you'd come out any time for crying out loud. Well, how many years has it been? She hasn't been out once.
We haven't asked her. This
Yeah,
is.
free of charge, of course.
Oh, of course.
Oh, no, it's called, pay for travel, I guarantee you.
No travel charges. You can't make a living.
We'll throw in, burger at the tavern.
So
It's under
anyway,
$50 and we
seeing
can't
how
get
that's
trouble.
a lull, unfortunately, the lights are still on and we're still, all that, but at the, town center study, one of the things that we talked about was grant money, and how to come up with that kind of, how do you come up with money nowadays to try to do things in this town? And I said, well, one of the things is you're gonna need a grant writer. And that's when your name came up. I brought your name up. I said, she knows everything in town. She's busy with everybody, all the departments in this town, so she would have an excellent opportunity of how to write and do all that.
That's very nice of you, I appreciate that, Dick.
So you may get a job offer, who knows?
We need money first, though. We need a grant to fund the grant.
Yeah.
This is where,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was reading, and then it goes over to here to, well, if I can
bring this. That's what, and then goes over
Oh,
to here,
yeah.
that's what I was
Yeah.
hanging my hat on, where we get to,
Yeah.
basically, it gives us a lot of latitude, Norman.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So,
Let's see, there's this one right here. Does not create a hazard to the public information about disturbance to any water.
yeah, and it's not 3 to 5, 6 to 5, 10 to
Yeah.
5. So, you know, I that's why I asked the question, no, but we shouldn't talk about this because it's outside the hearing. I don't want anything like that.
Scripto leads, I remember them.
Now, could you remind me what this is?
I'm not sure, they might even have some.
Yeah, that's what the purpose of the presentation is.
It's but where's it gonna be presented?
Right here,
Right now.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So this is the town center strategic plan. So as introduction to this, from 2017 to 2019, the town engaged in a number of plans related to housing development. One of the goals was a desire to diversify the town's tax base by attracting more commercial development, especially in the town center, and encouraging a vibrant and walkable town center. So working with the Regional Planning Commission, having received a grant from the Mass Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, a town study group was put together with the purpose of making recommendations, identifying priority parcels, and coming up with some recommendations. So this presentation is divided up into 3 main sections: introduction, visioning, and recommendations. And as listed here is the Town Center Study Group, which we appreciate their help. They finished up their work today and took one last look at this, as well as the Regional Planning Commission and their staff. So, as just mentioned, there were a number of studies put together which made recommendations which got us to this project here. The town center is loosely defined as the intersection between Route 122A and Route 56. This is an area of high commercial density, which includes food uses, retail services, offices, town buildings, parks, and other commercial uses. The primary zoning district is TC1 and TC2. The study did not specifically include the Heights district because the Heights has its own master plan, but this project is certainly aware of the town center, and I believe a lot of the recommendations here, the intent is to work and complement the Heights zoning district. So the town center study group met on a regular basis. They were convened in early 20. They met several times. They had a forum. A survey was created. The survey results were publicized on the town social media. And the town center study group was instrumental in helping create recommendations and establish the priority parcels. So I just mentioned, this is the area of the town center study. It's the area shown in the blue, or purple rather, on the left-hand side. And on the other side shows the main commercial TC1 and TC zoning districts, as well as a small section of light industrial office. But we wanted to focus, and the group decided to focus on this area in particular. Also, as mentioned, there was a visioning, a public forum that was put together and a survey. The survey got over 654 responses, which we thought was a pretty good response rate. A lot of the survey results focused on maintaining the small town feel, reducing traffic, increasing parks, recreation, and retail, and there was significant opposition to single-family dwellings. So this is the survey results. We asked several questions. The first question, we wanted to identify who is actually taking the survey. As can be seen here, over 98% were town residents. In addition, we were wondering about the age and the demographic of the survey respondents, and as you can see here, it's split pretty successfully amongst various groups of people with tenure in town here. 30% has 20 or more years as residents in town, but the other pies, you'll see that there's 11 to 20 years, 6 to 10, and 1 to 5. So we were able to get to a large cross-section of the community. I will say also that there was an outreach effort to the schools where we circulated the town center study, town center survey to the schools, and we got results from the student population, so we appreciate the help of the principals in making that possible. We thought that helped to give us a better sense of who was actually taking the survey. And the survey itself resulted in answers to some questions, such as what's your favorite aspect of the town center? And you'll see, you know, small town feel, community center area, churches and a hall, and the common. So that was a favorite aspect, and then we asked, what's not your favorite aspect? And we got what you see here, traffic, it's busy, the Dunkin' Donuts, and things of that nature.
I'm glad that's underneath traffic, because that relates to the traffic.
It does relate to traffic, yes.
I hate that graphic presentation.
You too. I'm a bar graph guy,
Yeah.
This is a trend in presenting information, the word cloud, so you get the sense that the bigger the word, the more people will.
Yeah, the problem is I can't see where it says pool.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is like kind of an aesthetic choice that the Regional Planning Commission has made, and this is a lot of what.
Well, they're doing that for the study that we're doing now, and it's tough for me to focus on what is important. I mean, I see the big graphic, but there's stuff up there like grocery, that's up in the corner, and I think it's somewhat significant.
Well, maybe for the towns, maybe for the master plan, if we think that a more traditional means of presenting the information would be better suited to.
I'll bring it up at Thursday.
I would bring it up.
Yeah, because I'm a bar graph guy. I like to see.
Yeah.
And the survey has been done for the master plan. It's finished, and they're prepared to present the results. So if you have a different format, I would definitely bring that to the table.
I'll bring it up Thursday, Dave.
So another question here was question 5.
There you go.
Right, here's your traditional bar graph.
This is what I'm used to.
What type of development do you feel that the town center needs more of? And as you'll see, the first 3 items: parks, open space, outdoor recreation, retail, and personal services. You know, so those are the leading answers, generating about 40% response for the first 3. And
put a coal plant.
Yeah, there you go.
What was that? It says energy generation. I'm thinking a coal plant would look good right next to the DPW.
Yeah.
And then we were interested to hear what people thought were some of the types of development that they were not as much interested in. And you'll see that the graph kind of flips, with single family leading, multifamily, light industrial, and fast food and drive-through. Then after that, some survey results looked at what type of transportation options should be further explored in the town center. And the leading answer was pedestrian enhancement, followed by bicycle infrastructure. And if you look at the bottom, you'll see carpool lots and parking ride, and you'll also see expanded parking, indicating that, you know, those are less than 25%, and that there might be some sense that those are adequate, but I'm not sure that that's totally accurate. Once you drill down into the parts of the town center, you'll see that, especially with respect to the field, there's not enough parking.
Oh,
Yeah.
So that's,
Yeah, next to the DPW. That's a tough one.
so these are generalized conclusions which apply to the town center district as a whole. But certainly, once you get to specific areas, then there's more of a need for expanded parking than in other areas.
Yeah.
So this was another question: what types of zoning changes do you think might be useful? We got a low response on this, but we think that it was an important question to ask, because if people had suggestions on zoning changes that might facilitate changes that don't currently exist in the town center, this would be the chance to try to identify what some of those are. And these are things that can be brought to town meeting on a regular basis, but we didn't get any major responses indicating, at least to the people who responded, that there's a satisfaction with the mix of commercial uses and the possibility of the uses. You know, so that the zoning table is seeming to do what it needs to do. So after the survey and the forum, we then branched out into recommendations. The recommendations are in 3 major categories. The first category is placemaking and history. What you'll see here, that the main recommendations are pavilions, seatings, awnings, expanded business association, and marketing and priority parcels. Just to touch on some of these briefly, you know, to better market the town center area as an historic site, talking about the Wood Studio, talking about some of the historical importance of the town center to try to better publicize that. The idea of a visitor center came up several times. A place for concerts to be in the town center, you know, more of a formal type of pavilion. Enhanced seating in the area. You know, to make the downtown has a lot of strengths, as we know, with the 300th committee and the concerts, but to try to take advantage of those by adding other amenities.
And therein lies the parking problem.
Yeah.
Well, I think depending on, right, so these, you'll see that there's recommendations, you'll see that there's a table of recommendations, and a lot of these are generalized recommendations. How to make them happen is the implementation piece, which is, you know, very, very important as well.
Yeah.
And
No,
then
I like them. I see the biggest thing with anything downtown is just the parking issue, because we've got, I mean, 4th of July, if you could sell parking spaces down there,
Yeah.
you'd be set for the year.
Right, that's,
How about this, sightseeing tower similar to
Yeah.
the one at Province Tower?
I could just see that one.
well, I think the idea behind that is that the mountains are not visible because there's trees in the way.
Yeah.
Right.
And that there's natural features that you can't see because trees are growing up through time. And the idea is to have a place where one can view the hills and the mountains.
Noble Hill, you could buy a nice house over there and see a lot of,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it was important on these recommendations to, you know, get consensus around
Oh, yeah.
recommendations, even if they seem like they might be wild ideas, to still include them, because you never know
Yeah.
how it may end up coming to be. It may be a variation of.
No, I think it's a good idea to gather these and then you basically can look at them when there's opportunities.
Right, and then priority parcels, the priority parcels are lots where there might be capacity to implement the recommendations on those particular properties. Then moving on to the recommendations, the next one was the, having to do with roads and connectivity, trails and parks, streets and bicycles and so forth. So the complete streets, you know, is there an opportunity for everyone to use the street who wants to, whether it's pedestrians, bicyclists, wheelchairs and what have you, for children, baby strollers, cars, bike paths. You know, that's the idea for complete streets. Trail and park connectivity, you know, there is the trail, the rail trail that runs behind downtown here. Some of these ideas of making connections from the rail trail to the town center to complement the town center and get people off the bike trail to come into the town center. That's some of the intent behind some of these.
That Palm August's gonna be important when the construction starts.
Back up to Maple Ave. Put that on today.
Yes, the funding has been secured for the complete streets for the Maple Ave portion. That was in the works when this was being drafted, but funding has been secured since the recommendation was made.
So we'll have new sidewalks and a new street down to the Heights.
That's
From
correct.
from
Main Street down.
through the school?
No, this is Maple Ave. Maple Ave, from Main Street to the Rutland Heights and beyond, funded and secured.
Oh, okay, so past the post office, all that way
Yes.
down there.
I
Oh,
think it was
excellent.
$446,000 or something like that.
Something like that,
Yeah.
Outstanding.
So it's,
Dave,
that's
put that in your hat as community development checkoff.
Yeah.
Thanks. And then some more recommendations on the same subject have to do with traffic control, building assessments, and related. So traffic control kind of speaks for itself. You know, whether there's lights, traffic calming techniques, changing of the road width, things like that. The Route 56 project is definitely part of traffic control. And
I will say that sign in front of the baseball field, I have noticed has definitely positive response for people slowing down in that area. They're not doing 45, 50, they see either the radar detector goes off or something and you see them slowing down, because they used to tear by that baseball field 40, 45 miles an hour.
And Norm, just for clarification on that part of it right there, I did bring up what you said in 2000.
Oh.
Two things were brought up. the byway, and we had a discussion about a byway trying to get around town here. And also, you had mentioned once upon a time coming through Memorial Field with the road, a crossroad right there, and eliminating this intersection.
The jog.
Yeah, the jog.
Right, those are examples of possible
Yeah.
traffic control.
Like they did down by the YMCA, so you don't jog up.
Yeah.
Now it comes
Right.
straight up with the traffic light.
Yeah.
And then the last set of recommendations are recreation related. These talk about the town center, the state park, Mass Central Rail Trail, Mount Wachusett, the trails, the water, the state park, and to use those as economic development tools, because there is a significant amount of recreational tourism that happens in this community. It may not find its way to the town center, but the idea is to maybe let it be known that there's a strong recreational component to the town. Maybe that would spur an idea of, you know, some kind of a sporting goods store that maybe caters to specialized uses, or bike stores, or what have you. Things
Or a
that
company that rents kayaks and.
Perfect.
Yep.
Those are the kinds of things that would be perfectly associated with this category of recommendations. And then there was another section to this one, which talks about priority parcels, which we'll get to in a moment. Trail and park connectivity that we talked about briefly. In making better use, or better publicizing the hiking, biking trails, mountain trails, in Putnam Park, the property by the sanitarium as part of open space.
Somebody help me with that third bullet. Lair Development, Holbrook Subdivision land on Main Street
Across from the cemetery, there's,
Correct. Yeah.
Well, the Holbrook house was that they.
Oh, the one that
They
tore
did-
down.
they did-
But I didn't know that was owned by,
2/3 by Blair and
Okay.
1/3 by trustees of reservations.
okay, so it's not it's not a subdivision or anything, 'cause
No.
it's never come before us,
No.
correct?
No.
Just okay, all right,
as you'll
thanks.
see on the map coming up, it's a pretty substantial landholding, and it's a priority parcel because of the potential that parcel has to tying into the recreational opportunities in town.
Okay.
As a possible trail network, open space preservation, so forth. I believe I've heard that people, you know, use the sewer line that goes into the Holbrook as a walking trail.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of this that already exists, and plus, as you'll see in the map, it's right in the middle of several major neighborhoods, so it's a natural for trail networks, but these are possibilities. You know,
Okay.
none of these things are mandates on any property owner. These are ideas for what the priority parcels are, what they might be capable of. That's really all it is. So what we see now here is the recommendations made elsewhere above in text, brought into a table format. So you'll see the category of the recommendations. So the pavilion we talked about earlier, it shows up on the table. There's a brief description of it. There's the funding source, possible funding sources. Then you'll see a time frame, medium. The time frames go from short, medium to long term, and you also see a cost estimate. So all of the recommendations that have been made have been carried forth to this table and have been treated in a similar manner to try to identify which could be done sooner, which could be done with less money, and also what type of grants would be involved.
It's an interesting location for a pavilion.
Yeah.
Where, yes, just behind there is used to be a whole pile of old piping and everything
Oh,
else
yeah.
in there, and now it's
Yeah.
all gone and it's cleared out.
Have they cleared it up?
Yes.
Really?
And
Yeah, but that's DPW.
it is DPW, but it's also a little bit further beyond it, behind the field, you might say, there is a sewer line easement that goes over to 122A. And that's all, we talked about parking in there, or
Is that the
Or-
one that's in the water bogged area that Joe needs repair for? Is that the sewer line that's?
no.
Okay,
this is
different
the-
one.
This is the one that comes from the Sonic home across the road,
Okay,
and it makes its way around, and
okay, that's a different one, okay.
the back end of the DPW, and they talked about maybe extra parking, but it's also a way of maybe some of the 55 and over people that are living there, and opportunity to go to Rutland Market and, for hiking.
So the recommendations carry on a couple of pages, treated in a similar fashion as what we just described. And then we get to the priority parcels. The priority parcels are parcels that may lend themselves to these recommendations to accomplish the goals and objectives of this study in terms of recreation, land preservation, economic development. And so more in particular, this is maybe a convenient way of showing the priority parcels. They're highlighted in the colors which you see, and they're also just described further below here as either retail and mixed-use development opportunities, outdoor recreation, rail trail connectivity, town-owned memorial field, or water bodies. So the Holbrook is the one that's in the green, right across from the cemetery that we're just talking about.
Okay. What's the DPW property listed as rail trail connectivity?
There is a right-of-way that goes behind the DPW all the way down to Miles Road, right beside the Wachusett Greenways house. And it comes all the way up to the library, like I said. It used to be a road, I believe, or a way back.
Okay.
Way.
I just saw the whole property there and that got me a little scared about my DPW building.
No.
Okay.
And this also shows the town-owned property areas. It also shows areas that the town owns, which may be, party to some kind of future development, especially that area by the post office. There's that parking lot. So,
Oh, Joe's done a good job of cleaning that up. I'll give him that.
Yes.
Is that, just for my edification, that big parcel that goes all the way to the subdivision,
this one.
is that all the Holbrook property?
That's Holbrook, yes. On the left is
I see there's a little
Ralph
square.
Clario's
Okay.
property. That there, and I think also the other one right to the left of that too.
Okay.
And Blair.
But that,
Blair's got, Blair has a little small one, Clario's got the long, narrow one.
okay.
Yeah.
But the rest of that is partial,
It's,
2/3 deeded and 1/3 with a trust still.
Correct.
Okay.
There
That's
is,
a healthy chunk of property.
Yes, it is.
there's a trail around it. I don't know what condition it is.
Well,
in
I told them
now,
this
but-
morning roughly where that line is that we were talking about there. That's the sewer line that comes down through from Main Street all the way down to.
Do I remember
Blueberry,
right?
is it, or something
And
like
maybe
that?
this is
Briarwood.
Dick or Norm or Maryland, that frontage there, isn't that controlled like 30, 40 feet for the state controls that?
Up to the stone wall.
Yeah, isn't that, so that's controlled by the state, not by the town or by the property owners,
That's
correct?
MassDOT, yeah.
Okay,
That's the 165-foot, 10 rod.
okay, thanks, just curious.
One of the things that's interesting about out there in that trail is that it's not very big, but you can see where they used drills to go down through this granite that's up over the ground, and where they cut out big blocks for
Yeah.
foundations.
The quarry up in the back.
Yeah, the quarry.
Yeah.
So there was a granite quarry for stone, that's the word I'm looking for, stone foundations?
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So as you can see, there's opportunities for historical tourism. Identify some of these historic sites, some of the past uses of the land, as well as recreation. I think a lot of the discussion had to do with trail connectivity. So over here, there's possible trail connectivity from here to here, because the town either owns the property or there's Wachusett Greenways owns property that goes from here to here. And there's also possible trail connectivity from here, as we talked about on Brice Lemon, the open space portion, to get possibly to the park, in Putnam Park, through this adjacent property.
I'm in the process of sending a letter over there to those people.
And then downtown, down in the town center area, there's the Woods Studio, there's the Historical Society building, and then there's historical monuments in the back behind their property. So a lot of this stuff is not quite as known as it maybe could be. And also by the library, you have the old cemetery, you have the old fire station. as well. So there's a lot of historical amenities that some people might be interested in.
Mhm.
You know, there's also capacity for stores or buildings to be expanded. I believe that a lot of these buildings have not maxed out on zoning itself, so there's probably room for additions, and then we comply with zoning under the site plan or special permit. There's other development happening in this area here, I believe, for the mixed-use concept on vacant land. So there's development opportunities, and then there's the Dunkin' Donuts, which remains a development opportunity once the land use, the land court issues gets resolved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of potential here in the town center area.
Did you know in that Dunkin' Donuts building that they had to recreate the building that was there?
I found that out, Marilyn.
Because
Was that a telegraph or was that the general
telephone,
store?
that was the telephone, the people that lived there operated the
Yeah, because I
switchboard.
did the research at the state trying to find out what historic buildings are actually in town, because they're listed in a state ledger. And there was like a general store and a telephone building that have been removed. I guess the store was where Clee's Place is now, and the telephone was where the Dunkin' Donuts is.
Mhm.
And Dunkin' Donuts was required to put the columns up and basically match the old house
Correct.
with a telephone. I found it interesting.
Yeah.
Because my
And-
push is to.
And there was no drive-through supposedly.
No. Yeah. Hey, can I have the little? Okay, let me call.
And then this report concludes with the priority parcels being more defined than as shown on the map, with some addresses, parcel size, some notes. And we wrap up with a list of grant opportunities on the last page. Now, I think, so here's the report. The report makes recommendations, it identifies priority parcels. Obviously, there's an implementation part that's necessary, because without implementation, the report doesn't really do anything. So we are aware of implementation, and that would be the next step.
Is that gonna go? Is this, Dave? This report gonna be part of the charge of the economic development board, commission, whatever's coming up?
I would think so. It would make sense, in my opinion, and I probably need to hear this from others to validate this, but given the work that the master plan steering committee is doing now, given the work that's happened on the town center study, the recommendations have already been made. So I'm not sure the Economic Development Commission has to go through this process, has to do a visioning, has to do a survey. I think we have a lot of information we've already gathered.
Yeah.
And maybe the next step would be for the Economic Development Commission to decide what it wants to do, working with town staff, and then take some of these recommendations and implement them.
Well, that's what I was sort of getting. If they're gonna form this economic commission board, there's a lot of tools they can use right now instead of reinventing the wheel.
I think so, I think so. I think exactly right. And if the Economic Development Commission, on its own initiative, comes up with recommendations that don't currently exist here, I suppose those would have to be reviewed at the time to see how they fit into the master plan, how they fit into improvements to whatever areas they want to propose. But I think we do have a solid framework here between the master plan survey results. Even without the recommendations, we still have survey results, and those survey results have some use to them. And we have these hard recommendations, so implementation would be the next step. Obviously, this can't be implemented by one department. We need help from other departments and other boards and commissions, so as we proceed, we'll be looking to do outreach and figure out how it makes sense to implement, and who ought to be involved. This report will be published on the town's website. It will be presented to the select board, and if there's any questions or comments that the public may have, feel free to contact the planning office. Appreciate the board's time.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion for Mr. George to get an A+ on this assignment.
I'll second that. I'll third that.
But without the town center study group.
I know.
Without the planning commission, you know,
Well,
they
let's
get a lot
step
of the
back.
credit. They get the credit.
I get that, but if you weren't here to push this through, it wouldn't be happening, I'm telling you that right now.
Well, I appreciate that, but.
How many years did we sit on this board and nothing really got off the ground?
Yeah.
From the town's perspective. There was a lot of talk, but nothing got off the ground, so.
And last night at the selectmen's meeting, you know, about the library having all the different departments and.
Oh,
I
I gotta dig that up that Addison gave me. I looked last night and I couldn't find it. So it's in some file somewhere. I know, cause I filed the thing. Cause when I first started on the board, I didn't have anything, and Addison got elected, and I was saying, I wish I had something, and he showed up with this Mylar covered thing that was Rutland Town Government Primer. And that was just such a good tool for me to understand, cause
That would be a
again,
good thing to bring into play for this discussion.
Yeah.
So people can walk away with the document that's a prior.
yeah, and that's what I told Carrie, I'll dig it up and get it to her, and she can make copies of it, because honestly, I come from a town, a city the size of Worcester that has a council. And I knew how that worked with mayor, councilman, and different departments, but when I got to Rutland, I'm like, what the hell is this selectman? This sounds like alderman in Chicago, and they're all on the take. I mean, that's just, but it wasn't, so, no, that's, Chicago was notorious for aldermen, but it was good to learn that primer and understand how things worked. I thought it was a great tool. I thanked Addison multiple times for it. I think it'd be good for Carrie to get her hands on that for that education program that she was talking about.
Now, Dick, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but is there some expectation that boards and committee membership will attend these forums to provide information to the public as well as town staff?
Oh, you better believe it, yes.
Yeah,
And-
she was asking for that. I thought it was a great suggestion.
Yes.
I mean, how
To-
much time?
I like the thing where she was talking about downstairs of having a table with like the planning board. Hey, we're looking for recruitments. Looking for people.
Yeah.
Well, something
For subcommittees and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
and just to, you know, let people know what we do, and,
Yeah.
Actually, that has been done elsewhere. Worcester, when they had vacancies for board and commission members, would set up a table in the city hall upstairs, and they would have the tables for the vacancies. Even if there's no vacancy, have a table. So people are thinking about getting involved in city government. People would be able to talk to people.
And
talk
ask
to staff,
questions.
Talk to the board chair, get paperwork, you know, take a look at a real zoning bylaw. You know, this one is pretty small compared to Worcester's, but see what it is, see what it does. Look at the zoning map, look at the conservation
I
regulations.
know from my perspective, I was young, this was a long time ago. I just started showing up to meetings and asking questions and bugging Neil all the time. And then Tom Dufault, and that's how I learned, but that, again, that was a different time ago, but having like a little packet or them to talk to people would be great.
and that's what I'd love to have somebody come in, you know, and, you know, sometimes you, just by them talking, you can tell, wow.
They're
this one-
interested, yeah.
There's energy behind there. Come on in. The water's fine.
Or if they wanna get on Maryland's subcommittee to,
Yeah.
on the bylaw subcommittee, just to get their feet wet, that's a great place to do it too.
I want somebody to come in and start taking my place, so.
We got a good another 15 years out of you.
No. But we need to start looking for new personnel.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes,
Second.
at 9:39, yes.
In favor?
Aye.
Bye.